What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Good Morning Tottenham. And yes, there is quite a bit to get through today. The running order today, we're going to go through Antonio Conte's press conference. We're going to do a match review. And there's been a club statement as well this morning, which we're going to delve deep into. But before we get into the press conference, man, what was going on last night? Absolute shit show, wasn't it?
Look, it was a great game of football. It was
neutral,
like and I thought both teams had lots of chances. I think Southampton were brilliant from pretty much from start to finish, apart from maybe a 25-minute spell in the second half where we were really on top. But the defending was all over the place. We were absolutely all over the place at the back, and considering, you know, apart from Dyer, that's pretty much supposed to be our first choice defence available. That was very, very worrying how Southampton was so easily allowed or able to create chance after chance, and how many saves Lloris had to make. I think he had to make something like 10 saves yesterday.
He was brilliant, Hugo.
And that was really worrying, especially our right-hand side. It seemed to be, especially in the first half, something that Southampton were targeting.
Oh, massively.
And that cost us big time, because I think when you look at the chances we created more than enough chances to win the game, but we conceded more than enough chances to lose 3 games. So that is the reality. I don't think our attacking play was too bad, but unfortunately, defensively against a decent attacking team like Southampton, if you allow them into the game, they can do that to you. And I've never seen them play so well, but I think we have to look at ourselves as to why we gave them so much encouragement.
Yeah, look, you got to give credit to Southampton yesterday, because it is the best I've seen them play under Hassan Hutel. He said it last night. And they were playing some scintillating stuff, but we gave them too much space. We gave the ball away way too many times from the middle of the park, from the defence as well. I mean, Sanchez, Emerson, Højbjerg, Winks. I mean, these players just gave the ball away countless amount of time. I mean, no composure in the centre of the park at all from Højbjerg or Winks. Emerson had a shocker, Sanchez as well. But look, let's get into Antonio's press conference, then we'll get into a proper match review. But let's see what Antonio had to say last night.
Oh, twice. Okay. Bye. We'll start with Alistair Gold, please.
Hi there, Antonio. How disappointed were you with the defending of your team tonight?
For sure, we have to be disappointed, no? Disappointed because after a first half where we struggle a lot, and I think they were good, but I think that we made many mistakes, especially in with the ball, and I think this type of situation create a bit of instability, mental instability in my team, especially in the first half, because in the second half, then we started to play. We started to press in the right way, and didn't change anything compared to the first half. And in the second half, we created a chance to score, and but also in the first half, because every time we played the ball in the right way, we created a situation to go to score. But I repeat, we made many mistakes in the first half, and important mistakes. And in the second half, we did well. We scored, and then you have to be more good to defend, because I have seen the 2 goals, and we conceded 2 goals with the defensive line that stayed there, and we have to be more accurate. But I know very well that I repeat, in this season we are going to struggle to get 3 points, and I say this before, I continue to repeat, and for sure, I think that now we are improving in many aspects, but then we are still too emotionally, and against Leicester we won 3-2, and we were losing 2-1. Today we were winning 2-1, and we lost 3-1. I think on this aspect we have to improve, because if we want to grow as a team and to try to be competitive, and the first thing that you have to improve and to be stability, not up and down, up and down, up and down. And I think that this is a situation that we have to improve, and yeah. Also, I repeat, in a team it's important also to have players with experience and to manage the situation and during the game, and yeah. But I repeat, it was a pity, because my players they gave 120% today, yeah, and the effort was maximum. I cannot tell that yeah, I don't see right attitude. I didn't see right commitment. I have seen a maximum commitment, and for this reason we have to try to and to try to avoid this defeat, because I think today we could avoid this defeat, especially when you go to 1 and there are 50 minutes, 20 minutes to play. We have to try to manage the situation in a better way, but it happened, and we had to take experience about this game and to try to improve.
Okay.
Thanks, Ali. Jack Pickbrook, please.
Hi, Antonio. Why do you think your team struggled so much against Southampton's pressing, especially in the first half? It's a problem that Tottenham have a lot.
Yeah, but I think in the first half that we have struggled a lot on the situation to put pressure was the same. The first half, like in the second half, and the first half, I think that we were not so. I don't know, but I don't know why. I think, in my opinion, that in the first half we made many mistakes with the ball, and this created problem also without the ball, because when you lose confidence, and you lose confidence in every aspect, and with the ball and without the ball. Then after the first and second half, I spoke with them and I said, okay, and football, you can make a mistake, but then you have to play again. Otherwise, when you make a mistake and then you go down and you don't want to play, you don't want to press, you don't want to run to protect yourself, and we are in trouble. I think it happened this because in the second half I asked them to be brave, to have courage, and with the ball, without the ball, and I think we played a good second half until the goal. Then we conceded 2 goals that for sure we could avoid, because we were with the defensive line in the position, and yeah. But this, I repeat, this is a part of process, and I'm repeating always the same thing. And to get 2 points, we have to struggle. We have to struggle and to give every game 120%. And I repeat, today the effort was maximum. I cannot tell you that my players, the effort was not good, the committee was not good. No. And I have to tell thanks to my players because the committee was top. But then, you know that you have to improve in many aspects. And we have a long road in front of us.
And Charlie Eccleshare, please.
Hi, Antonio. You mentioned there a couple of times about the defensive line and having to be more accurate. What do you put those goals down to then? Is that a collective failing? Is that individuals not being where they should be?
But for sure, you attack with 10 players and you defend with 10 players. And when you concede a goal, or there is a kick and in the top angle, okay, and then you can only clap, no, your opponent. Otherwise, and in every goal there are situations that you can improve. And I think, but it's normal when you consider 3 goals, and for sure we scored 2 goals, and in the goals that we scored, and there are situations that Southampton can improve. And yeah, but I repeat, we have way to work and to know that our season will be tough. We have to know this. And but I'm pleased that I repeat for the effort, for the commitment of my players. I ask them to have always personality, no, good personality. Then during the game you can make mistakes, but we have to try to reduce, no, and mistakes and to improve in other aspects.
Okay, thanks, guys. We'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's get into the match review now. Obviously, we lost 3-2 to Southampton last night. Look, we can all point at how bad Spurs were. And yes, we were very bad in a lot of situations yesterday. A lot of poor performances on the pitch. But you just have to give credit to the way Southampton played yesterday, because I thought they were brilliant. For pretty much the whole game. They set the tone from the first minute, going straight at us, and we knew that they were going to do that. We knew that in the first few minutes they were going to be all over us. They're going to start fast like they always do, but we just never seemed to get a foothold in the game. I mean, yeah, maybe there was a moment in the beginning of the second half, but ultimately we never really got a foothold in that game. And Southampton really just overran us in many areas of the pitch. Their midfield was a lot stronger than ours. They forced our players into making mistakes. And yes, we weren't good enough, but you've got to give credit to the way Southampton played, because I think personally that's the best team that's come to our stadium this season.
Yeah, they were fantastic. Was it the best team that's come to our stadium this season? I think I've seen... I guess it depends. Under Conte, I would say, yeah. But I would say there are teams, I think there are teams who've controlled the game maybe a bit more than Southampton did. I don't think they for large parts, they were better than Tottenham. But I would say how I saw the game, being at the stadium, they really came out of the blocks firing Southampton for the opening 5-10 minutes. And obviously Hugo made that save from... Shea Adams really early on. I think there was another one from a header from Stuart Armstrong quite early on, and looked like they were on top. And then I think Tottenham did grow into the game about 10 minutes in, and we started to press really intensely, started to press a lot higher up the pitch. And we actually started to create some chances. Romero had that header ruled out for offside. Reguilon had that chance, which was a good save from Forster, which he really should have done better with. And then we obviously got the opening goal. We were 1-0 up. And then we thought, okay... and actually, when we got that opening goal, I think that was a consequence of a bit of built momentum. And I actually remember when, on the vlog, like we were saying how that goal we deserved it at the time, because I actually think I can't remember what minute we scored in. It was like 18th minute or so. That was actually a consequence of we actually did build up some momentum leading up to that goal. We were starting to create some chances, and we were playing fairly well. But again, like a bit, we'll talk about the second half in a minute, but as soon as we scored, I don't know what happened, but we just completely took our foot off the gas. We completely ceded control, and pretty much from that minute up until the end of the half, it was all Southampton. Even literally from kickoff, I think, didn't they? From kickoff, after we scored, Broja hit the byline and nearly scored in the near post. I think Lloris had to make it. I think then they scored pretty much soon after that. Davis' mistake. That goal, by the way, I've seen it again just this morning. I'm watching because I didn't get to see the highlights. Oh my God, that goal was just a shit show after shit show. Literally mistake after mistake. I mean, Sanchez does really well to get a tackle in, but then Davis slips, then Sanchez's header isn't far enough away. It falls to Emerson. He lets it run for God knows what reason. He lets it run across his body.
Out of the time, just get the ball away.
Even if you put it out for a corner, just get the danger away.
Just get it away, man.
He lets it run across his body, and then not only does he let it run across his body, he then doesn't stop the cross where he could have easily stopped the cross to go to Broja, and then Broja's completely unmarked. There's 4 men in the box, and Broja is somehow completely unmarked. Maybe that goes down to lack of leadership without Dyer there, and he puts it away. He makes it 1-1.
A clear lack of leadership at the back last night.
Yeah, and as much as I love Romero, and I actually think for me, as much, I don't think he had his best game, Romero, compared to maybe on Saturday. I still think he was head and shoulders above any other defenders.
Yeah, not saying much.
You can say that, but I still think he was much more aggressive. He was making much more tackles, but him in the centre with Southampton attacking from all angles, I think he was kind of doing a lot of the defending by himself. But sometimes he needs to. I feel like with Romero, he's a very good defender individually, but whether he has the capabilities right now as a very young 23-year-old to be marshalling everyone and to set the line and make sure everyone's doing their job, or whether he's just concentrating on doing his own job, which I think he's doing very well. But when you're a leader in that centre position, you need to be you can't just concentrate on yourself. You need to be marshalling everyone, and that's what Dyer brings.
Because people forget how young he actually is because of the high level of quality.
Younger than Sanchez, isn't he? Much
exactly.
Younger, yeah.
Like, people forget how young he is, and he shouldn't be right now just coming into the team the leader of that back line. And that's what Dyer does, and he does it really well, and he's been doing that really well this season. And as much as Romero put in a good performance last night, which I agree with, I believe his passing was a bit off last night, but all in all, his defensive work was good yesterday, how aggressive he was and how much he was winning the ball back. But he can't be that leader in the middle, and you saw there was a massive lack of leadership at the back last night.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I think his passing was a bit off, but I think that was more to do with Southampton's pressing rather than his passing. I think a few moments where he did play it to absolutely no one, but there are a few moments where he did actually play like an accurate pass, but the Tottenham players were just not able to hold off their defenders, and then the pass gets intercepted, and it looks like a bad pass, but it's more to do with Tottenham players not being strong enough, like holding off people coming from behind them. But anyway, look, yeah, pretty much the end of that first half, we were desperate for it to end. It was an onslaught that end of that first half,
10
wasn't
minutes,
it?
I was like literally here on the watch line saying, we need half time. We
Desperately.
need half time.
It was
We need half time.
set piece after set piece. They hit the bar. Ward-Prowse was whipping them in. Lloris was flapping.
How many times did Armstrong was just completely free on the edge of the box? I know some of the shots weren't exactly great, but how many times?
I actually
How many times did Armstrong, was he free on the edge of the area just to have a pop shot?
I thought the technique on some of his shooting was really good. It was just a bit off in terms of direction.
Yeah.
A lot of them,
I agree with that.
A lot of them, if they were on target, Lloris could have been struggling.
It's like it followed a theme throughout the game. We weren't closing them down quick enough. They kept having these pop shots from outside the area. And then when push came to shove right at the end, it was the same problems when Ward-Prowse was completely free in the middle of the park. Had the freedom of the pitch just to play any ball he wanted into the area, and there's 2 carbon copy goals in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a sec, but so we go into half time 1-1. Very lucky to be 1-1. Let's be honest, it could have been 2 or 3-1 at half time, considering the chances. And not even to mention there was that Broja miss a 1-on-1 as well, where he got through.
He's a player, man.
But he got through ridiculously. Like they just played a hopeful ball forward. Sanchez is caught sleeping. Broja just nips in. You got to be more aware of who's around. You got to be more aware and more aggressive as well. We're lucky he missed that chance in the at 1-1. So we're very, very lucky at that point to go in at 1-1. Then
the one where he just screwed it wide.
Yeah, he's 1-on-1. Yeah, and I don't know how he gets through, but We go into we start the second half, I think, actually pretty strongly. I think we get control back of the game. I felt in the second half. I think for the first 10 minutes or so, it was very even. We had a bit more control in the game. But then once Bentancur came on, I thought he came over Højbjerg, who I thought had a horrendous game. Absolutely, I've never seen him play so badly. But he came on.
He was so erratic, Højbjerg. I mean, every time he got the ball, there was no composure. I mean, first time he would just like pass it anywhere on the pitch. And I remember there was this one moment when Højbjerg, he gets on the ball, completely free, no one's pressuring him whatsoever, and he just passes it out of play or passes it into completely no one. I mean, he was panicking time and time again on that pitch yesterday, and his midfield partner in Winks, I think Højbjerg was worse than Winks yesterday, but Winks was not that much better, was he? I mean, he as well was a bit of a headless chicken. I thought
Winks was better on the ball than Højbjerg. Højbjerg was better off the ball than Winks, but as in Winks off the ball, I thought was terrible. I thought he couldn't get near anyone. I thought Ward-Prowse or Romeo were running things, and I thought Højbjerg on the ball was so panicked. He was. I've never seen him. I've seen him give the ball away a lot, but I've never seen him give the ball away as much as he did yesterday. I think I know he did get an assist for the goal. Fair play. It was a decent ball, but apart from that one moment, he was absolutely shocking. But I also did feel like when he went off. Obviously, he went off deservedly, but we maybe could have used him in those last 20 minutes because they were just running things for those 2 goals. We couldn't get near them. It was really frustrating. But
as much as Højbjerg was terrible on the ball, I agree with you. I would have taken off Winks because when you go 2-1 up and you're going into the last 20 minutes...
Winks couldn't get near anyone,
Exactly. You'd need that presence of Højbjerg off the ball. As much as how terrible he was on the ball, fine, fair enough, and I completely grant that. But I felt like Winks... When you go 2-1 up, you need that off-the-ball presence in the middle of the park, and we didn't have that, and we got completely cut open, pretty much.
But then, look, Bentancur comes on, and within 30 seconds, he does a pirouette. He plays a beautiful through ball to Lucas. He's just right. And all of a sudden, you're thinking, where has this composure been in this whole? Not only just composure, but quality. The weight of pass he played for that Lucas pass, and with his first pass of the game, was unbelievable. I've never seen even Winks, who I consider a good passer, was not capable of that kind of pass. A driven, beautifully weighted pass into the feet of Lucas Moura. It was absolutely sensational, and he brought a calmness, a composure, and not just that, it was quality, it was decision making, it was passing it into space, the right pass at the right time, not panicking. He seemed like a seasoned professional who played at a top team for many years, coming into the midfield, and he showed exactly what he was about when coming on. And I thought it was a very even game for that second up before he came on, and then once he came on, the momentum completely swung in our favour. I think we were very much on top of them. I thought the Reguilon set up that chance for Kane, which he should have buried. There was another one actually, which was really frustrating. Reguilon was on the left-hand side, and he had like 3 or 4 open men in the centre for a good chance, like really great opening, and he missed all of them. He played it behind everyone, and the chance was gone. Obviously, we got the goal in the end, which you could argue maybe could have been a foul, but we did get that goal. And I think once we went 2-1 up, I think that was deserved when we're in that moment, because I think we were on top. I think we were actually penning them in quite a lot, and it would look like it was a matter of time before we were going to score. Actually, I think we were actually attacking really well. Southampton were really struggling to get out. We were being really intense, and we were penning them in. And then we went 2-1 up. And then there was a very long break for the injury, wasn't there? After the goal, it was like a 3-4 minute break, and maybe that allowed Southampton. I think actually that really helped Southampton, because you saw during that break, Hasenhüttl had a good 2-3 minutes talking to his players, didn't he? Everyone was huddled around Hasenhüttl. I think Tottenham were just like we're just continuing what we were doing. We were just waiting by the centre circle in our position, ready for the game to restart. While Southampton had a bit of a reset under Hasenhüttl. He was giving them all this, okay, this is what we need to do, this is what's going wrong. Maybe that break helped them re-establish themselves in the game, because as soon as play restarted, it was back to the first half, what was happening. We were sitting back. Maybe we felt like we had to sit back to contain Southampton, to try and see out the game, but we dropped way too deep, I felt. And that was a consequence of us conceding those two goals in 2 minutes with 10 minutes to go.
It reminded me yesterday a lot of a Jose Mourinho Spurs, to be honest. I think, every time we scored, when we scored that first goal, when we scored that second goal, immediately after, for some reason, we would just sit just completely sit back and invite the pressure onto us both times. And that's exactly, what we used to lay into Jose Mourinho for doing. And I don't think it was under instruction or anything like that from Conte. But what I do believe it's that when a team presses us and when a team overloads us and when a team really puts us under the cosh, that's what they do. They revert to type and they literally push back and back and back until we're under too much pressure and we ultimately concede the goal. And I don't know what it is with this Spurs team, but when they're lacking in confidence, when they're under the cosh, they just go deeper and deeper and deeper until we ultimately concede or lose the game.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I think Conte mentioned that in his press conference about how his team, they need to be braver. Not just on the ball, but off the ball. And what he means by being braver off the ball is when you have teams pressing you and they're coming forward, you have to be brave enough to actually step up and not just run back the other way and drop deep in your defensive line, but actually hold your position, hold your defensive line as high as possible, and actually press them high up the pitch, even in their own half or in the middle third. And that's what he means by being brave. And I don't think we were brave off the ball yesterday, especially in late in the game for those last 10 minutes or so. You can see just when Ward-Prowse is crossing the ball how deep our defensive line is. And that's what he means by not being brave off the ball. We didn't step up what we needed to. We were too worried about them getting too close to our goal that we dropped all the way back. Whereas what we should be doing is holding our line, making sure we don't drop too deep, and making sure it's as difficult as possible for Southampton to pump balls into our box and them to be close to goal. And look how close they are to goal when they get their headers. That's because our defensive line is so deep. But also, if you look at the first of all, the equaliser, Bentancur has Ward-Prowse. As much as I think Bentancur was great, he had Ward-Prowse, but maybe this is what Conte was talking about. Instead of holding high with Ward-Prowse and sticking that position, making sure that he's close to him and high up the pitch, he drops onto the edge of the box to mark no one. And maybe he's too worried about a ball coming into the box in that way and blocking across or something. But that allowed Ward-Prowse all the time in the world to line up his obviously he took it first time, to be fair, but he had the space to line up that cross, great ball in, and the defending inside the box was absolutely shocking from Sanchez, from also got to say from Romero, who wasn't aware as well, and especially from Emerson, who his positioning was terrible.
Emerson was shocking throughout the whole game. I mean, he was a disaster class. And I'd put 4 players in that category. I'd put Emerson, Sanchez, Winks and Højbjerg. I thought all 4 of them were absolutely disgraceful last night. And how can you give Ward-Prowse so much room? Once is like a crime. To do it again a few minutes later, how does that happen? How do they give him so much space? You know the quality the guy has. And it's funny that if you have someone in the middle of the park with that much quality, how do you give him so much space?
And that's what I've been crying out for in terms of what I thought Tottenham need is when I say a player with real quality on the ball.
Bentancur, like he's got that.
No, he's got quality on the ball, but he doesn't have quality. Well, he might do, or we haven't seen it in terms of real quality, like Ward-Prowse or Ruben Neves or someone, or Jorginho, someone of that ilk who can, like for example, in that half space where Ward-Prowse is. 9 times out of 10, or very often you can expect him to deliver something like that. Does Bentancur have that in his locker to do what Ward-Prowse did yesterday? I don't know. I mean, he might do, but at Juventus, he wasn't that kind of player. We haven't kind of seen that yet from him. Obviously, he's very young. He can still develop. He can still improve, and maybe he does have that. But when I talk about a player with real quality on the ball that Tottenham need, we need Ward-Prowse is someone who's a perfect example of that. Someone who has proper ability to affect the final third on the ball and who's not a liability off the ball either. He's such a hard worker. He makes loads of tackles. He's running all day for 90 minutes, Ward-Prowse. And he's a real quality player. And he's someone, obviously, he's been linked to Tottenham in the past. But whether he's gettable or not, he would be perfect for us, actually. I think Conte would love him.
He would be absolutely perfect. But, everyone knows about Ward-Prowse. He's a complete dead ball specialist. But I've actually never, maybe I haven't watched him enough, but maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen him in open play put such quality balls into the area, into the mixer before.
I've
always seen like the set pieces, obviously.
I think if you have it from set pieces, you can have it from open play.
Yeah, of course.
And I think Ward-Prowse, I've always liked him.
What I'm saying is teams are always savvy when Ward-Prowse are playing. They know what danger he can bring. So you bloody close him down as soon as you can. You don't give him that space. Don't give him that space.
Yeah, 100%. And we did that, unfortunately. But Ward-Prowse probably had his, to be honest, he probably had his best game of the season yesterday. No doubt about that. Apparently he's only once in his other career had 2 assists in a game. So that shows how often he does it. But he definitely has that in his locker. We know that. And look, this guy's been called up for England many times. You don't do that just because you're a good set-piece taker. You have to be a good footballer as well. And I think he's proven that now. He's at a very good age. And the problem is, I think at the beginning of last season, he signed a 5-year deal. So probably has 3 years left on that at the end of this season. Like, not only that, he's Southampton's captain and he's their talisman. He came through their youth, didn't he? So he's a bit like Harry Kane for Tottenham or Declan Rice for West Ham. He's worth a lot more to Southampton than maybe his quality is, as much as his quality is very high. But you're going to have to overpay to get him. And whether we're prepared to do that, I don't know. But he's definitely someone who I'd love at Tottenham. I think he's a great player, and he's proven now at Southampton that he's not just a set-piece taker, but he's an all-round very good midfielder now. And I think he ran the show yesterday, especially in the late in the game. But to be fair to Tottenham, I think after we conceded 2 goals, but I did think in stoppage time we penned them in quite well. And we were looking dangerous. We obviously didn't test Forster enough, but we did pen. I thought it was actually quite good how we penned them in, and we were pumping balls in the box. And we were looking like we might get something. And obviously Romero combined with Bergwijn to score, which was unfortunately ruled offside. And then as soon as that goal went in, as soon as it was ruled out, everything dropped, and it was like we needed that to go for us. And as soon as it went against us, it was pretty much over. I knew it because everyone dropped. I think if that goal, if it was onside, I reckon we could have even had more momentum in our favour, and we could have done another Leicester. I really believe that because I think we had them penned in, and the momentum was with us. But as soon as that went against us, you saw the body language. Everyone dropped, and that was pretty much it. We weren't going to get another chance after that, and that was it. And look. And Southampton deserved it.
We were having a lot of debate, well, some people having a lot of debate on the fan show last night regarding what actually went on that football pitch yesterday. Was it players not putting their shift in, or was it maybe Conte got it a bit wrong tactically? Because I thought Hasenhüttl completely outdid Conte tactically yesterday.
Yeah, I think it was more to do with Southampton playing well than us playing badly as to why we lost the game. But we did play badly. But in some, I think we had a level of performance where, for example, if we were playing a lesser team or a team not playing as well, we could have got away with it. We could have won the game, maybe a 2-1, like we could have done with 20 minutes to go. If we were playing a team who weren't playing as well as Southampton, we might have been able to get away with the level of performance we got yesterday. But because Southampton were playing such a top level, they punished us tenfold for how bad we were. I think we were sloppy. I think in possession, a lot of the time we did seem a bit clueless. I think, I mentioned in the preview that in the first game, Conte very, very purposefully put us 3-5-2 as opposed to 3-4-3 in the game at St Mary's early in the season, even though we had players available for a 3-4-3. So that made me think that Conte thinks this is the best formation to play against Southampton. But I think maybe in this game he just didn't want to start Bentancur for whatever reason or not. Maybe his new signing is too soon or whatever. He didn't want to start him, so he went with 3-4-3. But I did think in the centre mid they completely dominated us. They completely overran us. We weren't able to build up any sort of play except for on counter-attacks in that 3-4-3, apart from maybe that period in the second half where we did keep possession pretty well. But again, that was more using the wing-backs than it was down the centre. That was more, we were getting a lot of joy down the left with Reguilon than anything else in that period before Bentancur came on anyway. So I think Conte maybe has to take some blame. I also think the level of performance Højbjerg had, he can't account for that. That was just way below anything we can expect from him. I think the level of performance from Emerson, Sanchez, and to an extent Lucas, for large parts, apart from obviously he got a good assist. Actually, he was involved in both goals.
2 assists.
He was involved in both goals, to be fair to him, but I'd actually think he was pretty poor in general, Lucas, yesterday. I think that those level of performance, the players have got to take responsibility. But I think tactically, yeah, I think Hassan Hutel can definitely claim a tactical victory yesterday with how he was so intense in the central areas, dominating us and overwhelming us in attacking areas as well. And we didn't really have a response to it apart from playing long balls into the attacking players. And on the few times we made it stick, that was the only times we were able to go forward.
And finally, top 4 now. It just follows a consistent theme over the last couple of years. When everyone around us drop points, we also drop points. And it's just so frustrating because you look at our fixture list and you earmark this game as probably the easiest one over the next few weeks. When you got this weekend, we've got Wolves at home, which is going to be harder. You've got Man City away following that, Burnley away and Leeds away. All the away games are going to be very difficult, as every away game is, and Wolves at home, which is going to be a very difficult game too. So it's just difficult, isn't it? I mean, it still is in our hands, but we're still a long, long way to go, and it just follows a consistent theme, doesn't it?
Look, I think there's many, many, many twists and turns left in this race. I think look, it's a damaging defeat. I think the most damaging thing about this game about this result is it's a home game against a bottom half side, and to lose that is really a massive, massive blow. But what I think we're going to pick up points you don't expect us to pick up. We're going to lose games you don't expect us to lose. I think that's going to happen with Arsenal. It's going to happen with Man United. It's going to happen with West Ham. It's going to happen with everyone. So we just got to make sure we're as consistent as possible from now to the end of the season with the games that we should be winning if we're going to snatch that top 4 race. The team with the most consistency is going to do it. And I think at the moment we were pretty consistent, but this result was completely against that, and maybe I'm hoping it's not the start of more inconsistency creepy into our game now, Conte, because I think since Conte's come in, especially at home anyway, we've been very consistent against these bottom half teams. We've won games pretty convincingly, and we've been pretty solid, but this game was definitely worrying. Whether you can take that into a trend in the future, we'll see. Look, we could come out against Wolves, and different teams provide different
Wolves always give us a torrid time, don't they?
But I think the different teams provide different challenges, and Wolves are not going to be as attacking as Southampton were. But they might be, we might concede less chances against Wolves, but we might also create less chances against Wolves because they're very, very good defensively. To be honest, against Wolves early in the season, we did struggle badly, but that was a lot to do with Adama Traore completely rinsing us down the left-hand side. Without him there, will we find it much easier to contain Wolves than we did early in the season? But then again, they're a lot stronger defensively than they were early in the season now. So will we be able to have that ability to create chances against Wolves that we did against Southampton? It's going to be a different kind of game. So it'll be interesting to see how we come up against them. Obviously, Man City's Man City, and then Burnley just got a draw against Burnley just drew against Man United at home. So they show that they're desperate for points. And Leeds away, they're starting to play a lot better than they were early in the season. So every game's difficult, but just because we lost against Southampton doesn't mean any of these games are write-offs at all. We can still very much go into these games confident of getting a result for sure. But we just got to be wary of where our deficiencies are. And Conte has got to make sure that he's learning as much about his squad as possible. And maybe, you got to remember Bentancur and Kulu still haven't started a game for us. Maybe Bentancur coming into the team will improve us. I know Kulu didn't kind of impact the game as much as I'd like him yesterday, but especially Bentancur, maybe with him starting games, maybe that can change things a bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think so, but now we're 2 losses in a row now in the league. Yeah, I know the last one was to Chelsea and everyone was expecting it, but no one expected this result yesterday. Everyone on the pre-match pump-up, everyone coming on the day before the game was so confident, us included, that we were going to go and put on a really good performance and back up that Brighton performance with a win at Southampton. And now these next two games, Wolves at home and Man City away, are massive, especially with the games that Arsenal next week. They've got a free week because they're not playing against Chelsea, so they're going to have a game in hand on us. So all of a sudden, we could be looking at having games in hand on Arsenal to go above them. Now we're level on games with them. I know they got a hard game tonight, but in a few weeks, the table could look very different in terms of the games in hand on Arsenal and Man United.
Yeah, it could, but it's all about just the next game. That's where you got to concentrate. There's no point looking further and further ahead because you get lost in it all. Because you start worrying about what other teams are going to pick up points, where that you can predict all you want, how many games you think Arsenal are going to win or United are going to win. But at the end of the day, you predict United to beat Burnley and they draw. You predict Arsenal to beat Burnley at home and they get a draw. It's so hard to know. You just got to concentrate on yourselves and making sure you get the results possible. And just because we lost on yesterday. And you got to say we lost in a game which was a very much a below par performance from Tottenham and very much a way above par performance for Southampton, and yet Reguilon and Kane missed two massive chances. We had a goal ruled out in stoppage time for offside. We still created a lot of chances, and the first goal was all because of a very, very unlucky slip from Ben Davies that caused that first goal to go in. So this is in one of our worst games. So, and these things still happen. So I'm still confident against Wolves we can go into that game. Maybe, not necessarily, we're definitely going to win, but I'm still have us to say we can definitely go into that game saying there's no reason why we can't go into that confident of getting 3 points. Yeah,
we need to dust ourselves off and pick ourselves up again and going into this game of the weekend believing we can win. That's definitely true. And, I kind of agree with that because a lot of people were very, very angry, upset, emotional on the fan show last night. But I really resonated with the call we had at the end with David Harris, which was a lot more positive about that. Because when you look at it, right, we're still well in the mix. So there's no point writing off our chances like a lot of people did coming on the fan show yesterday when there's a whole half a season to play. Man United not looking like they won it. Arsenal don't look like they won it. And yeah, fine, we don't look like we won it in the last couple of games either, but these are the three teams that are fighting for it. Mm-hmm. And maybe you can even include Wolves in that as well.
If they win, even if they win tonight, mate.
Exactly. If they win tonight, they're above us.
They're above us. Do they go top four?
No, they don't go into the top four, but they go a point above us. So there is a lot of teams in the mix. And like you said before, whoever is the most consistent will get it. And when you look at since Conte has come to Spurs have been the most consistent out of all those teams. And
also, and first of all that, and also we have potential, like United and Arsenal have to go with what they have and what they've had for the whole season, for the rest of the season. So they don't have that opportunity to maybe bring in new blood and bring in new energy that could maybe ignite something. Whereas we do. We have Bentancur and Kulu who have new signings, and they have that ability to maybe, where if things aren't working out, well, Lucas continues his bad form and stuff like that, and Højbjerg and Winks are not up to it. Like, we have that ability to bring in a Bentancur or Kulu who could really ignite something potentially and go on a good run and spark something in the team, a bit of new energy. Whereas if Lacazette's not working for Arsenal, they don't have anyone to bring in. You know what I mean?
Nketiah, don't worry about that.
They don't have that new energy. So that's also something that could potentially work in our favour. But we have to sort out this back line, especially against good attacking teams, because
we have to get back to winning ways this weekend.
It was all over the place. It'll be interesting to see what happens down the line with Emerson, because that was a very worrying performance yesterday. But it was really annoying because it was off the back of a decent game against Brighton. But yesterday, it was terrible.
Yeah. All right, so that is our match review. Obviously, we lost 3-2 to Southampton at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last night. Let's go and see how Twitter reacted to the loss last night as well.
1 sec, it seems to have gone off. 1 second. We'll just reconnect.
So if you want to get involved in this video,
chats while we're doing.
I will get to super chats in a second. But if you want us to react to any tweets, do tag us on Twitter at WeAreTottenhamTV. And the super chats are Richard Blackdog saying, with Hugo, Romero, Bentancur, Kane and Sonny, we have the spine of a T-Rex. Unfortunately, we also have the arms too.
Yeah,
that's definitely true.
That's true, yeah, definitely.
A new member in Wira Sly Welcome to We Are Tottenham TV and welcome to the family. So thank you very much for that. And El Saeed with the super chat saying the difference between last night and every other game we played under Conte is so huge that makes everyone confused. Don't know what to expect now. And you know, Josh King brought up a really good point last night about these players that have been pulling through under Antonio Conte. You know, the Sanchez's, the Winkses, these kind of players the players where Spurs fans have been so easy or so happy to brush these players to a side. And he was saying, I think he was reminiscing on a chat he had with Tapping Tobes. And he was saying that, yeah, it's all well and good, these players coming in now and playing well, but let's see how these players perform after the transfer window shut. And you know what? It's ringing true right now.
And that's the thing. A lot of these players as well, you can get an upturn in performance, but whether you can sustain it and become that player that in the short term maybe you're playing very well, but you have to be able to sustain it over the whole season, and you can't revert to type. And even look, under Mourinho, we had players who for 6 months played very, very well. Like we had a few players who for a time were playing extremely well, but they couldn't keep up for the whole season. That's because the quality of player they are. You have to be very, very consistent. And whether these players, a lot of them, time will tell. Whether they have the ability to be as consistent as they've been at the beginning of Conte's tenure remains to be seen. And the jury's out on that still.
Exactly. Is it working now?
Yeah, it's working now.
All right, let's go and see how Twitter reacted to the 3-2 defeat last night. Yeah, go on.
All
take
right,
it away.
we'll start with Luke, THFC Comps. His tweet says, Emerson is significantly worse than Walker-Peters, Juan Foyth, Aurier, Trippier, Ryan Fredericks, Zeki Fries and Carl Walker-Peters. He should never put the shirt on again. Truly awful. Is he better? Is he worse than all the Leeds players? Walker-Peters, again, had another good game, by the way, yesterday.
Yeah, he was very good, Walker-Peters, yesterday. I don't think he's worse than Zeki Fries somehow.
No, I don't think Zeki Fries or Ryan Fredericks. Ryan Fredericks I don't rate that highly
Ryan
either.
Fredericks.
But, you know, Juan Foyth, Aurier, I think they are very good argument to say he's worse than both of those players. And
But
especially
we said it
Walker-Peters.
at the time when we got rid of Aurier on a free, right? We were saying, if you're going to get rid of anyone, get rid of Doherty. He's much worse than Aurier.
Oh, yeah, I said
and we cut Aurier's contract short.
Yeah, I said at the time when we cut Aurier short, I said, look, I understand why we're doing it, but I also, obviously, I do think we need to improve on Aurier, but I said at the time, he is not the kind of quality player that you just cancel his contract. He's not that bad that you have to cancel his contract. And definitely, with Doherty, I'd much rather cancel Doherty's contract than Aurier. The problem is Doherty had 3 years left and Aurier had 1 year left. It was much easier to cut Aurier's. So it wasn't even a case of quality. It was a case
Any news of how
money.
He's doing out in Spain? Is he
Yeah, I don't
playing
know.
much?
I don't know if he's playing much under Villarreal. I don't really know. I haven't been following it. I think Foyth still
Foyth is
plays.
ahead of him.
Yeah, Foyth's ahead of him.
But also on Emerson, I still stand by that he's a very young player coming to a new league, playing a completely new role. When he was bought by Spurs, he was bought to play a completely different role in a back four as a fullback, as opposed to a Conte wingback. A Conte wingback demands so much out of you. Demands so much out of you. He's not going to just come in straight away and be the best wingback in the world. You know, we're going to have to be patient with Emerson. And yes, he's making a lot of mistakes at the moment. And yes, he's not playing well enough at the moment. But I still call for patience with Emerson.
And also at Emerson, yeah, look, obviously everyone's very angry about yesterday's performance, and me too. I thought it wasn't just for me. It wasn't just his performance. Like, first of all, I thought his defending absolutely shambolic. He was letting his man go, blah blah blah. Also, I think on the ball, the amount of times the moves were breaking down from him, and we would play like even like little passes that were just, and his control of the ball was very, very worrying. But I still think, unfortunately, he's our best option at right wing back, and that's just reality. I think his ability to be an option in the final third consistently is more valuable than Doherty. As much as I think Doherty might be a bit better on the ball than Emerson, I still think we need to keep trying to improve Emerson, because I think his ceiling's a lot higher than Doherty, unfortunately, and that's just reality. So I think we have to persist with him. That's just I think maybe in games, for example, when we're playing at home to Norwich or whatever, or or away at Burnley or something like that. I think you can play Doherty in those kind of games because we're going to have a lot of possession. He's not going to be caught out as much at right wing back, and you can and he's might be a bit more of a threat in the final third. But in games like against City and better games, I think we need Emerson. I think that's just reality.
The problem is to have Emerson as our only real competent right wing back in a normal game. That's the problem. That's why I was so annoyed that we never got a right wing back in January, because you could see this all playing out. You could see it. And that's why we never gave the window a high rating, because of that right wing back rule. That's my opinion. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Charlie Eccleshare says, feels as though Tottenham are in a bit of a cycle where they play well and it's like, well, yeah, obviously their manager is Conte, and then they play badly and it's like, well, yeah, they obviously have some pretty average players. Still think the former will override the latter. Yeah, it does seem kind of a battle, doesn't it, between Conte's methods and average players costing us all the time, and it's kind of swings and roundabouts, and it's like which one side's going to win. And I'm hoping the quality of Conte will shine through at the end of the day, but it does seem like a lot of our players keep costing us.
At the end of the day, if we end up achieving our targets this year and top four, that'll be. First of all, it'll be all down to Conte, and second of all, it will only be because teams like Man United let us go and have it, basically.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why we're going to finish top four this season.
And it might well be true. Lily White Rose says, James Ward-Prowse is man of the match home and away against Tottenham. Southampton and Saints have taken 4 points of us this season. Yeah, it's unfortunately true. Hotspur Edition says Emerson is just not Premier League standard. Although he played very well in La Liga, supposedly last season for Real Betis. So, just because he's not had the easiest. First of all, I don't think every performance for Emerson has been that bad. I think there's been, unfortunately, I have to admit now, there's been more bad than good. That's probably true at this point. But he has put in some good performances, so he shows he can do it occasionally.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, look, Emerson gets a tough ride, and maybe quite rightly so in a lot of games.
I think it's because we bought him for a lot of money, 25 million.
From Barcelona.
Barcelona. And he's expected, and he was bought to solve our right back problems, and also we gave up on Tomiyasu as well to sign him.
But to be honest, even if we got Tomiyasu in, he's not a wing back either.
No, he's not a wing back. So whether he would have done a lot better, he might have been a bit more solid defensively. But whether he,
if you ask Tomiyasu to do what Emerson's doing and get up the pitch and provide attacking options and get crosses in the box, we're also going to be slating Tomiyasu.
Potentially. Spurs web say Emerson Royale and Davinson Sanchez lost the ball 17 times each last night. That's incredible.
Yeah, I saw that
the most out of the Spurs team, 17 times each. That just goes to show their lack of quality really on the ball. That now with Sanchez, that's what we've continually said. Extra inch, big up to them. They've got a bit of a thread. So Southampton was superb in the first half. The press was so organised, and they left Sanchez as the spare man, and he cannot progress the ball. The few times we've beaten their press, usually through Romero, we've looked electric, and we've gotten to find ways to get Romero free more. BT just showed a little compilation of all the Southampton chances, and Sanchez was the root cause of the majority of them. Realised he had a poor half, but seeing that made it even more apparent. Honestly, I think we should shout and scream about the performance a lot of our players tonight. But this was low-key a brilliant performance from Southampton. They really did deserve it. But with Reguilon and Kane having big chances, plus we had Romero and Bergwijn goals chalked off. Despite playing badly, it was encouraging that we still were pretty creative. And if you look at the XG, it was actually this XG has us more, surprisingly enough.
Slightly, yeah.
But that's because a lot of Southampton's shots were outside the box, maybe. That's probably
also what I was saying on Davinson Sanchez. I mean, I was giving him so much praise yesterday before the game. I was having a massive argument with someone yesterday about the Spurs defence and the Arsenal defence, and I was saying, yes, all these players are starting to come together under Conte. Sanchez playing really well. Spurs starting to get to grips with him. It looks like we're on a bit of an upward curve now. And every time this happens, every time Spurs start to give credit to their own players and start to give credit to players that have been failing in the past and looking a bit better now, they throw it right back in our faces every time.
Yeah,
and you would think we would learn our lessons, but no, never learn my lessons.
As soon as Sanchez starts playing well, we're thinking, all right, and then he puts in form as he did yesterday. This is Spurs International tweeted 2-2 here. Here you can see how Sanchez is covering Romero's player with no awareness of what is happening behind him, leaving Emerson to try and cover two players. Davidson will have these lapses when man marking without someone like Dyer directing where he should be.
What did Conte say in the pre-match press conference?
He said
about
he can be good, but he just has to concentrate. And as you can see here, this is a picture. So you're absolutely right. He's probably right because you see Davidson marking. So Romero, to be fair, has to take responsibility as well because who's he marking? He's marking no one.
Romero there?
Romero's there marking no one. On the right.
Yeah.
Then Davidson's behind him here. He's marking there. But then look, Emerson's got two players there behind him. Yeah. He's got one there. And then Elianusi was the one who scored that goal. And then as you can see, as the ball comes in.
He played really well yesterday.
Emerson tries to mark him, but it's too late. But look, if it doesn't fall to Elianusi, there's Che Adams completely free at the back post as well. So the defending was just all over the place. That's just the reality. Tommy talks ball, big up to him. He says what we learned from tonight: Romero is great but surrounded by buffoons and should be playing as the central centre back. Emerson makes Aurier look like Cafu. Kulu makes Sissoko look quick. We struggled to create if Lucas is not on the pitch.
Sissoko was quite quick, wasn't he?
I thought Sissoko wasn't a slouch. We struggled to create if Lucas is not on the pitch. Bentancur must start against Wolves. Big up Tommy. Kulu, in terms of Kulu, he didn't have a great cameo, but I think Lucas, he had such a Jekyll and Hyde performance for me yesterday. He obviously was involved in the 2 goals, but I thought apart from that, he was so poor, I thought.
The thing is, as much as you want to rag on Lucas Moura's performance, he provided 2 moments of absolute quality that brought us the goals.
He did. Yeah, it's true, and it's hard to look past that. But we need a player who's more consistent throughout the game, I guess. I guess you put it down to a good performance or not. I don't know.
If Son's doing that or if Kane's doing that and they don't really have too much of an impact, but then come up with those big moments in the game that provide us the goals, you're saying that they probably had a good performance.
I don't know. Because Son and Kane are much more consistent performers throughout the game than Lucas is.
No, I get that, but I'm talking about if Kane did something very similar to Lucas yesterday, where he didn't really impact the game apart from those 2 moments. And
it wasn't about him not impacting the game. It was about him being really poor throughout the game. Like, he was involved, but every time he got the ball to him, he was maybe taking a bad touch and losing the ball. It was very frustrating. But then,
the majority of the team were like that, and I actually think. When you've got that bit of quality about you and you provide goals for the team, I thought him and Lloris were our most positive players yesterday.
I guess, yeah, if it's from that point of view. Ward-Prowse's game in numbers: 95 touches, 87% actually, 71 passes, 5 chances created, 4 accurate long passes, 4 accurate crosses, 2 shots, 2 assists. What a performance! And
it was.
Unfortunately, he was brilliant yesterday. James
he was head and shoulders above everyone yesterday.
Tactical Time says Spurs had to work their balls off to get the second half goal, and nearly gave their manager an aneurysm, and it meant so much. And then they gave up 2 really easy ones within 3 minutes. There aren't many jobs like football management. Yeah, that is so true.
Conte was shushing the Southampton bench when we went to.
But I think we did work so hard to get ourselves in a position to go 2-1 up in that second half.
Gave it away so easily.
That's the thing. Like, we put all our energy in getting that goal, and I think we deserved it at the time in the second half, based on the second half performance. But then to give it up so easily must be tearing Conte's hair out.
Shades of Jose Spurs, that.
XG philosophy have the XG at Tottenham 1.68 and Southampton 2.05. So Understat have it a bit different. So it's interesting how people have different XG ratings. That's what they had it as. G. Fenton says Tottenham have got no chance of 4th place with that defence. 4 out of the 5 are championship at best. How many goals have they gifted the opposition this season between them?
Yeah.
They're championship at best?
I think that's a bit of an overreaction, but...
are they Champions League defenders? Yeah.
They're not Champions League defenders, that's for sure. I mean, like I said before, if we get top 4, it's not because we're good enough for top 4. It's because the teams that are good enough for top 4 are not performing at their level.
Yeah, but we need top 4 to get the players in that are good enough for top 4. That's the thing.
Exactly.
That's how I feel. Cuti Romero with a post yesterday saying it wasn't our best night, but there's still a lot left. Only up to us to achieve our goal. Thanks for the support as always. So Cuti trying to say we'll do better next time. Hopefully he'll take that.
I mean, it stands a bit more from him, but I'm sick of hearing that from the players that have been here for ages, because they say that after every game.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
Especially
I agree with you.
players like Dele Alli. I know he's gone now, but he was the main culprit of that.
There's Conte shushing Hasenhüttl yesterday after Tottenham went 2-1 up, but unfortunately it came back to bite him. Jonathan Veal says, when you've just witnessed that defensive performance from Tottenham, and there's Antonio Conte giving his facial reaction to that. Antonio Conte's last 2 league defeats at home, 2 years apart, pretty much, over 2 years apart, were against AC Milan and now Southampton.
Wow.
So look at that run of wins he's had in between that. Unbelievable home form. Antonio Conte yesterday, it's the history of the Tottenham. That's the Chiellini quote, and there's Conte looking all dejected as in the rain yesterday.
Yeah, we've broken him.
Yeah, I mean, I hope not for too long. Southampton have lost just once in the last 8 games across all competitions, to set this as the Saints down Antonio Conte. So, maybe we have to give them a lot of credit, because they're in good form at Southampton, and fair play to them.
This app has the XG at 2.26 for Southampton and 1.29 for Tottenham.
Who's that?
This is that one that does the live XG during the game, FootMob or whatever it is.
Yeah, because people give different ratings to different chances. I guess it depends on what app you go. This one has it as 1.6 for Tottenham and 2.4 for Southampton. But this is probably the most interesting. This is the field tilt. This is when each team is on top, and you can see Southampton on top for way longer than Tottenham were. But you do see
that's exactly what we said. That little moment, that like 5-10 minute spell just before we scored.
Yeah.
And then the opening like 20 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, but apart from that, Southampton were on top.
And then a tiny bit right.
As you can see, this was the big period of Southampton, right at the first half there, and then look, that second half.
Yeah.
And that's pretty accurate, I thought, for how the game went.
It's very accurate in my opinion.
Football fans, how do you feel? How does it feel to support Spurs? Me, there's Conte. Yeah, pretty much how it feels for all of us.
Darkness, my old friend.
The Tottenham feed says, despite how poor we were, I still actually liked Bentancur when he came on. So calm and confident on the ball. Has an intelligence by passing at the right time to the right man. Has an elegance similar to Berbatov with the ball at his feet. Looking a good addition. Whenever anyone has a classy touch, everyone just says, oh, he's Berbatov.
Yeah, it's an easy comparison to make. But
he was class.
With Bentancur, I thought he was the one positive that came out of the game yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think that he does remind me of someone on a football pitch, but I can't remember. I can't kind of like just put the name to face who it actually is. But he does have some sort of aura about him, Bentancur, on that pitch.
Is it Berbatov?
Like, maybe, because he does have that kind of silky touch to him, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he seemed like and also just every decision he made had like it would just seem like the right decision, like he was playing to the right player in space at the right time, and it wasn't just nothing rushed, always knowing what he's going to do.
And he's got a bit of a build, like when you look at him on the pitch, he does look a bit like Berbatov, tall, a bit lanky, slight build. So maybe it is Berbatov.
Sonny Day says, apologies to Serge Aurier for underappreciating him and wanting him out. Would have flourished in the Conte system. Apologies to Arsenal fans for saying Emerson is better than Tomiyasu, and to Emerson Royale for believing in him despite many underpar performances. Your shit, mate. Well, a lot of people coming under Emerson. Richard Arrowsmith says it's quite funny watching Bentancur play a one-touch pass, and the rest of our players absolutely shit themselves like they've just seen an alien come down from space. It looks like our players aren't used to such quality. Yeah. David Ellis says, so poor last night, but the squad always has these type of performances in them because it's littered with average players. It's the same for United, West Ham and Arsenal. The rebuilds are huge and will take time. Are we patient enough? Got no choice. Suck it up onto the next one. And that's just how I feel. Like it was pretty much a miracle we were as consistent as we were under Conte, and it was only a matter of time for a result like this was coming, probably.
Yeah, but after that performance against Brighton, you would think that you're going to go into this game with a lot of confidence and come out on the blocks fast. But we just did anything. Basically, everything that people associate with Spurs is what we did yesterday.
Yeah. Gallardo, why has he got Gallardo as a Spurs fan as his AVI, I don't know. But he says, Lloris, good player. Romero, future world class. Sanchez, mediocre. Davis, below average. Emerson, below average. Reguilon, mediocre. Winks, mediocre. Højbjerg, mediocre. Lucas, mediocre. Kane, world class. Son, top player. Top 4, forget it.
You know, everyone I ask when they say Tottenham aren't going to get top 4, who are going to get it?
They never have an answer for that.
Exactly. Who are going to get it? And then, you know, everyone stumbles when I ask them that, and they're all like, oh yeah, it's between Arsenal and Man United. But Arsenal and Man United are less consistent than us.
Yeah, so it's too early to say, I guess. And then Skulty, the last one, says, hey lads, I think most of these players are now showing themselves for how poor and lack of quality they have. Look at City, all their players have quality. Højbjerg is a robust player. You need him for seeing out the game, so Skip and Bentancur for me. Yeah, but you're comparing us to Man City. Like, come on. Obviously, they're full of world-class players, and we're nowhere near.
And
also, like, people say they're now showing how poor and lack of quality they have, but like they weren't against Brighton. You know what I mean? Against Brighton, we dominated and played well. So I don't think it's a case of just one game and that's it. They're now showing what they are, because they didn't show that against Brighton. So what were they showing then? Like, I think it's just going to be, look, with average players, you're going to get some games where they're playing well and some games where they don't play so well, and that's just the case.
Yeah.
And that is it. I guess there are some more tweets here. Ted Carpenter says, the sooner we get rid of Emerson and Sanchez and bring in quality replacements, the sooner we'll start to improve. Emerson is basically another Aurier. I actually think Aurier on the ball is a lot better than Emerson, to be honest.
I would love Aurier in this team right now. I really would.
God save the Skip says, despite the dismal performance, we can still kick on from here. The other teams fighting for fourth have a tough run of games, and our fixtures are difficult but winnable. Hope the defence settles and compose Bentancur, and Bentancur starts ahead of Winks and Højbjerg. Yeah, I think we all want to see more Bentancur after yesterday.
I really want to see Bentancur has to start this weekend.
Sound HFC says, do you think Emerson needs time? Yes, he hasn't been good, but we can't forget only 22, and we need Dyer back massively because of the leader role and his missing last night. All of us were there to see. And would you guys prefer 3-4-3 out of us in 3-5-2?
And on Emerson, right? People are very quick to forget. Who's been our best right back of the last in the last 5, 6, 7, you know, since Poch came, right? Kyle Walker.
Mm-hmm.
At 22 years old, where was Kyle Walker? He was on loan at Aston Villa, and he was making mistakes week in, week out for us before he went to Aston Villa. So people need to calm down a little bit, because Kyle Walker took a long time to come into the team as well.
In fact, actually, when Kyle Walker he broke into the team under Harry Redknapp in that season when we got screwed by Chelsea 11-12. Like, he was pretty, like, I think he was in the running for Young Player of the Year. He had like a pretty good season, but then for 2 seasons after under AVB, I think everyone wanted him gone. I think people were ready to get rid of him. He was really bad. Yeah. He was making really bad mistakes. He was all over the place. He was just making brainless decisions.
I remember just half the time, Kyle Walker would get the ball on the right and just pass it aimlessly in the middle of the park.
Yeah, like do stupid things. Yeah. And I remember a lot of people wanted him gone off those 2 seasons of 2 seasons, not 1, 2 seasons, not just a run of games at Emerson. This is 2 full seasons of inconsistent performances. And then once Poch came in, everything changed. He got his act together. He got those fullbacks how he wanted them to play. And it wasn't even straight away. It probably took him like a few months to really get up to it. But then he started playing really well, and then obviously became one of the best fullbacks in the league and got his move to City. So, yeah, Emerson's playing badly at the moment, but people just ready to throw him away. I mean, come on. You players can come out the other side of this.
I agree.
As much as he's not been good. And it's very easy and very quick to say, oh, look, he's terrible, let's get rid. And he might end up not being good enough. And all the evidence suggests at the moment that he might not be good enough right now. But let's just see where we're at the end of the season.
At least give the guy a chance. Yeah, and you're completely right. There might be it might come to a point in a year and a half, or even 2 years, where we'd be like, yeah, look, let's cut our losses now because he's not good enough. But right now, we need to give the guy a chance.
Yeah, exactly. So let him just improve under Conte, have his own path, and see where it ends up. But that's it for now. That's all for Twitter Reacts. If you've got any more tweets, let us know. And if we see anything interesting, we'll bring it back up and react to it. But that's all for now.
So that is our Twitter Reacts video. Just before we get into the next headline, we've got a few super chats. And is there anyone waiting to speak to us at the moment? All right, I might bring on a guest and then we'll do the headline after because I just need to run downstairs for a sec. Mike and Hellman says, thoughts on Conte saying something along the lines is the effort was there and the notion of I can count on him post-transfer market in 2 matches. What's your thoughts on that?
So is he talking about a specific player? No, he's talking about just what Conte's comment.
Conte, last night at the press conference was talking about the effort, and the effort from the team was there.
Yeah, I think it was there. I think it was there, the effort. I didn't see players not trying. I think, like, when I say Winks couldn't get close to anyone, I don't think it was because Winks couldn't be bothered to get close to anyone. I think it was Winks was trying to get close to people, but he wasn't like quick enough and didn't have the ability to in him. He's not the best, as much as like Winks is not the best defensive player, and even him trying his hardest doesn't mean he's going to be good enough to make tackles and stuff like that. That's just reality. Like, I think a lot of the team, they are trying their best, but when it comes to Sanchez, when it comes to his lack of concentration, it's not because he's not trying to be at his best. It's just that has always been a problem for him, like lacking in concentration. Like that just happens. He lapses. When Emerson doesn't control a ball or when a move breaks down, it's not because he's not trying. It's just because there's a lack of quality in there, and that is the case. So yeah, I agree with Conte, but I think Conte said it after the Mura game, and I think it's still true. Like he said, the effort and desire is there, and they try, but sometimes that is not enough. Yeah. And that's just reality with our squad. And I think just because we made a couple of signings in January and just because we shipped out in Ndombele and Lo Celso and Dele and Gil is not going to change that for a lot of these players. And until we're not reliant on some of these players as first choice, then that's always going to be the case. Like Winks, I think Winks is good enough to be part of our squad. Is Winks good enough to be a starter week in, week out and perform consistent performances? No. Is he good enough to come in and maybe play 2 or 3 games and play a good level and then come out the team once a better player is back fit? Yeah, he probably is. But right now, and same with Sanchez.
Some of these players.
Is Sanchez good enough to be a 4th choice defender? Maybe. Is he good enough to be playing every single game? And expecting him to make no mistakes in any of these games? He's not good enough for that. And that's just reality.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And Aaron Stenlake says, Royale, worst signing since Jedson. Stop defending him for his age. He's just simply not Premier League quality. He could barely get in the Norwich starting 11.
It's not just about his age. It's about he's come to Tottenham. First of all, he was signed under Nuno, and then now Conte's come in, so he's completely switched up what he needs to do in terms of his role. He's had some good performances, he's had some bad performances, probably more bad than good, fair enough, but just because he's had more bad than good doesn't take away he has had good performances. He has played well in some games. So you've got to just give him time to try and find himself, and just because a player has a bad game or has a bad run of games doesn't mean that they're always going to be bad from now to the end of time. That's not how football works, and you just got to give him time to find himself and find his how to play the role and learn it as much as possible. And just after a bad game, yeah, you're right. We're right to criticise him, and you're fine to have that belief. To say he's not good enough, and that can be your opinion. Fair enough. But for me personally, I'm willing to allow him to have some bad games, and hopefully in the future,
you've got no choice right now.
Yeah, look, the future we're better. Look, as you say, if the choice right now is between him and Doherty right now, so it's really not much of a choice there. And just slagging him after every game instead of just like thinking maybe he can improve is not going to help the situation. Of course, what's that going to do? Yeah. It's just going to get like players see this stuff. That's the truth. Players see on social media. This is not even 5 years ago where maybe players weren't looking at social media all the time. The younger players, like especially players of Emerson's age, they're all on it. You know what? We were speaking to Jake Livermore when we spoke off camera a few weeks ago when we interviewed him, and we're discussing about players' social media and stuff. And he said him himself, because he's like 30, 31, he's not kind of that generation. He doesn't go on it straight after the game, or he kind of ignores it because he's not into that. But he said all the younger players in the squad, as soon as the game finishes, as soon as the minute they're back in the dressing room, phones out, social media, what's everyone saying about me? That's exactly what everyone's saying. So they see it. They see how people talk about them and stuff like that, especially players of Emerson's age. So just piling on him all the time, saying how shit he is, he's never going to be. It's not going to help anything. As much as I agree he had a bad game and he's not playing great at the moment, it's better encouraging him and hoping he gets better and giving him time rather than just piling on him, saying he's shit and worsening his confidence, because that just doesn't help. And everything worsens the situation.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to George, and then we'll go to our headline. But I'm going to pop out for 1 sec.
George, my man, how are we doing, my friend?
Not too bad, Sim. How you do?
Yeah, look, it was. I'm obviously very frustrated by the result yesterday. It was a massive setback in the top four race, especially a performance where, we conceded so many chances. Defending was so bad. But what was your take on what happened yesterday?
I'll be honest. I'm a little bit surprised that people are surprised. It's. I've seen Southampton play about 3 times this season. They had a phenomenal game against Man City and were really unfortunate not to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
We were very fortunate against them that they got a sending off when we played them at their ground. They are a very, very good outfit. They've got some really good ball players in there. They've got some natural ball players, and unfortunately, we didn't turn up yesterday. We played, I think, with a real lack of quality, and it's. I'll go back really to what one of our previous managers said, and it's going to be a very, very painful rebuild. And it really stops there in my eyes. A rebuild is absolutely necessary. The quality in the side yesterday was lacking, and evident that it was lacking in such a crucial game. And last night was a crucial game. And when we were going to the stadium with and we were talking, I was saying tonight is going to be our hardest game because this outfit are good, and they will exploit our shortcomings in the same way Chelsea did. And if we are not up for it this evening, it's going to be a very long evening. And unfortunately, I was right. It's going to take a lot of patience from the fan base to go on from here. I'm not being negative. I'm just trying to be real. You could see defensively we were all over the place. We were lacking creativity in midfield. The double pivot wasn't. It may just. I mean, Winks and Højbjerg at certain points in that game may as well not have been in midfield. We may as well have just played them up as sort of semi-strikers and just hoofed the ball up, because they weren't achieving anything where they were. And you can look at formations, you can look at statistics, but it was just the quality was not there, the creativity wasn't there. And unfortunately, if they can't do simple things like close down their most creative player in Ward-Prowse, I mean, I tell you what, I'm not a football manager, but I know enough about football to know that give Ward-Prowse time on the ball, and he is going to punish you. And if we can't see that, and if those players on the pitch couldn't see that, and I'm sure that Conte would have drilled them to the back teeth with the knowledge that they've got to be closing down and not lose the ball. I mean, how many times were we losing the ball in such ridiculous areas? And it just looked to me, and this wasn't the truth, but it just looked like it, that Southampton wanted to win that game and Tottenham were indifferent. I'm sure that wasn't the case. They know how crucial that game was. And it's, the same, we're coming back to the same thing. So the quality isn't in the side. Therefore, we're going to capitulate when we come to these sorts of games.
Yeah, but George, I think I agree with you, but for the most part, in terms of us being sloppy, I think it was a lot to do with Southampton pressing really intensely and aggressively, and us not having an answer to it. And a lot of the times, especially over the last couple of years, I think that has happened with this Spurs squad, and I think that gets mischaracterized as Tottenham like not wanting or anything. But I just think the players don't have a quality to beat a good quality press like Southampton provided yesterday. But there was a period, wasn't there, yesterday in the second half? I would say until we scored, pretty much, for let's say up until 75 minutes, where I actually think we were on top and played quite well. And I think we actually did respond to that first half display. And I actually think when we scored that goal, when we did score the second goal, that wasn't against the run of play at the time. I actually think that was because of the momentum we'd built up, and I actually think we probably deserved that goal in the second half. But we again let it slip after scoring and going 2-1 up, and we dropped back in. But what do you think happened in that period we were on top, that we were getting so much joy? Do you think, or do you not agree with that? Do you think in the second half we still were, but Southampton was still on top?
Okay, so if I could just take the sequence of events. So firstly, first half, we were lucky to go in 1-1.
Correct. I agree with that.
No two ways about it. We should have probably been 3-1 down. And that's me sort of being conservative.
Correct.
Coming to the second half, we started much better. So we were lucky and it happens. We were on the front foot, and yes, we were looking like the better side at that point. But the body language of Southampton, if you look at it and look at the psychology here, so Southampton went down when they're on top, and they fight back and pull a goal back, and were the better team in the first half. In the second half, we get on top again at 2-1. We are the better team. And what happened? It was almost as though they thought, well, this is it. We've got it won. And that's not the first time I've seen it from this particular group of players during this season, when they have gone out and they have thought that potentially they've got this in the bag. And it's just not the case. You've got to be able to play for 90 minutes, 95 minutes, 100 minutes with the same intensity and the same will and passion to win a game. And what happened was that we started losing the ball in silly places. We're looking around other players, in some instances ball watching, not looking at the movement that Southampton were making. Ward-Prowse being allowed ridiculous amounts of room, ridiculous amounts. I mean, how you can allow that player that sort of amount of time on the ball to make those sorts of passes is untrue. And as I said, if Southampton weren't as wasteful as they were, it could have been an embarrassment yesterday. We did have chances to score, but had they been clinical in what they were doing, like I said, it could have been quite embarrassing. So I take your point. We were on top at one point in the second half, but you've got to be able to carry that through, and that's the difference between a winning side that's going to actually go out and compete and win trophies, and one that's going to be bang average. And at the moment, we are bang average.
Yeah, and but in terms of how yesterday's result affects our chances of top four, how damaging is it? Is it a fatal blow, do you think, or do you think we're still in and amongst it, and you can't get too hung up on a result like that?
This is part of the journey, and the journey is investing in Conte and getting him to do his best with the team that he's got, and continue to rebuild in the future. Top four, I don't think really is up to us. I think there are better sides there and better equipped sides to make top four. I've always said this: it will depend on which sides capitulate out of West Ham, Manchester United, and possibly Arsenal. I think Arsenal, you've got to look at some of their players, and they've got some extraordinarily talented players in Saka, Martinelli, Overgaard, all of whom are stepping up to the plate at the moment. They will have their blips, 100%. They will have their blips, but then you've got to look at some of the games that they've managed to pull together. And again, they're very. I think they're a bit more versatile than we are in our play. You look at Man United and you look at the depth of their squad and the quality that they've got in their squad. And again, I worry when those players, or if those players decide to switch on. And we're talking about that again. These sides have got a bit more pedigree, or again, I'm being conservative. They've got a bit more pedigree than we have in achievement. And I think we're really going to struggle to make top four, and it will be dependent on whether those sides capitulate. Hopefully they will, and we can push on, and Conte can be the difference. But at the moment, I'm struggling to see how we're going to make top four.
All right. Well, George, let's hope that we can get back to winning ways on the weekend. Again, it's a very tough game against Wolves, and then it sets up what is going to be, if we can, very obviously extremely a free hit against Man City. But is it a free hit anymore now? We lost Southampton. You can make your own judgments on that. But let's hope we can turn it around on the weekend.
Well, hopefully. I mean, we're still going to go there. As I said, as far as I'm concerned, this is a journey. It's a building process. We can't expect buying Bentancur and Kulilevsky to be all of a sudden to catapult us into the top echelons. So we've, as a fan base, we've got to be real here, and say that the important thing is for Conte to stay, for stability, and this is what he mentioned yesterday in his press conference. What he said in his press conference is the players did the best that they can, which means that ultimately the quality is lacking, and you've got to be patient in the rebuild, which should have started, let's face it, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, spot on. George, we'll speak to you soon, my friend. Thanks for coming on today.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on.
If we could we get Stell on next? Because I think he messaged me saying he's in a bit of a rush if we can get him on. Oh, is he gone? Oh, he's frozen. Maybe he's gone. All right.
Can we get into the next headline quickly?
Fine, we'll get into the next headline instead then.
All right, we'll go on to the next headline as Tottenham have put out a statement on the Y word. Well, it's not actually the Y word. It's the Y as in...
the letter Y.
Letter Y word. The specific word is Yid Army. That's what's going on at the moment. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about this over the years. David Baddiel's been very vocal on it as a Chelsea fan.
Classic Baddiel.
Spurs have put out loads of polls and fan kind of trying to get the fans' opinions on the use of the word and stuff like that. But let's go through what the statement has read. I mean, it is quite...
to find it. Where is it?
It's on the website. It is quite a...
Didn't tweet it. Oh.
No, they didn't tweet it because they knew the backlash that it would get on Twitter.
So they just put it on their website.
But it's quite a strongly worded statement. We haven't had a statement like this from Tottenham from the Y word before. I mean, they have tried to stop it, but never kind of. But
look what it did.
Exactly. The thing I love most is being a yid. So yeah, let's go through the statement and see.
Okay, so I'll read it. It says. As we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic and can now say with a degree of confidence that the fans are back in stadiums for good, we feel it's time to update you, the club, on the club's review of the Y word. Among some of our fan base, supporter focus groups were concluded in the summer 2020. However, we made the decision to delay the release of our findings while continued uncertainty around fan attendance and matches remain. We are living in times of heightened awareness of cultural appropriation and sensitivities. It is therefore crucial to the values of our club and our fans that we are even more mindful of controversial nature of this term. We have always recognised that this is a complex issue and the appropriateness of its use should regularly be assessed. Towards the end of 2019, we commenced the first stage of consultation with fans and received more than 23,000 responses, with 94% acknowledging the Y word can be considered a racist term against a Jewish person. The results can be viewed here. Our supporters used the Y word, was initially taken as a positive step to deflect anti-Semitic abuse that they were subjected to at matches more than 40 years ago from opposition fans who faced no sanctions for their actions. The term continues to be used up to this present day by some of our supporters. We have a lot of our supporters, come on.
Majority, let's say.
We have always maintained that our fans have never used it with any deliberate attempt to offend. Indeed, among the reasons some fans choose to continue to chant the term now is to show unity and support for the team as well as each other as a defense mechanism against anti-Semitic abuse that still exists, and also as a way to identify as a Spurs fan. Outside of a football setting, however, an overwhelming majority of our fans acknowledged in the first stage of our latest consultation the Y word can be considered a racist term against a Jewish person, and they would therefore not use it in such context. After a pause due to the pandemic, we undertook the second phase of the consultation in the form of virtual support focus groups. These were facilitated by an independent, experienced moderator, and the groups comprised a cross-section of fans in respect of both religion and age. A full range of supporter views from our focus group can be read here. I never actually read that, but it says key findings have shown members of our fan base feel uncomfortable with the Y word's continued use at matches. Supporters who are prepared to defend their position on why they use the term expressed an openness to its use being reduced if it caused offence to fellow fans. Supporters, especially those of the younger generation, are often unaware of the term's meaning and its historical context when chanting it. That now more than ever it is time to reassess and reconsider its ongoing use. Moving forward, we pride ourselves on being inclusive and progressive club and are aware of the growing cultural sensitivity globally. We have already seen several sports entities and franchises make appropriate changes to nicknames and as aspects of their identities and recognition of involving sentiment. As a club, we strive to create welcoming environments that embrace all our fans so every one of our supporters can feel included in a match day experience. It's clear the use of this term does not always make this possible, regardless of context and intention, and there is a growing desire and acknowledgement from supporters that the Y word should be used less or stop used altogether. It says in bold now, we recognise how these members of our fan base feel, and we also believe it is time to move on from associating with this term with our club. The adoption of the Y word from our supporters in the late 70s was a positive response to the lack of action taken by others around the issue. An increasing number of our fans now wish to see a positive change again with the reduction of its use, something we welcome and shall look to support. We acknowledge that any reassessment of the use of this term needs to be a collaborative effort between club and fans. We shall be working to further outline the historical context of the term, to explain the offence it can cause, and to embrace the times in which we now live to show why it can be considered inappropriate regardless of context. Then it says that they're launching something called the Y Word online hub, which is dedicated to exploring the historical context. It says the club also refrained from engaging with any social media handle or bio that contains the Y Word, and we do not permit it being printed on shirts in any official retail outlets or used in any official context. We are grateful for the efforts of our supporters have given to this matter. And then it goes on to say about anti-Semitism in football, and that they're committed to stomping out anti-Semitism in football and all that kind of stuff.
And so are we, and that's why this word came about, to be honest. That's why the word came about, to stamp anti-Semitism out of football. Like the statement says, that's how the word came about in the early 70s when fans such as, West Ham, Millwall, Chelsea fans, even Arsenal fans to an extent, came to our stadium with the whole anti-Semitic tropes and gas chamber noises and stuff like that. The word got brought up into stands, so non-Jewish football fans and anyone of any race, anything can stand by the Jewish fans and being like, you're part of us. We are Jews as well.
In solidarity with Jewish supporters.
Solidarity thing, exactly. So for them to try and stamp it out like this, I mean, it doesn't sit right with me because the whole reason why we use it is solidarity, is to stand in solidarity. And me, as a Jewish Spurs fan, I'm very proud of the term, and I'm very proud of the use of the term. And there's no chance. I'm not going to stop singing it. I just can't. It's a big thing of my Spurs supporting, from the stands.
Yeah, and I think it's so ingrained in Tottenham's identity now that it's impossible at this point, unless you're going to start fining Tottenham after every game, or unless you're going to literally start punishing Tottenham fans by playing behind closed doors, or literally arresting or fining specific Tottenham fans for using the word. It's impossible to stamp it out, because it's for years now been ingrained in the Tottenham identity that we're the ids. That's part of our identity. It's, how many chants does that word come into it? Like so many of our chants has that word. Unless you're gonna tell Tottenham we have to come up with a whole new set of chants, it's impossible to get rid of it. And to now say as well that because Tottenham fans were standing in solidarity, now because everyone is so sensitive around cultural appropriation and very sensitive around these topics, that now the context is irrelevant, is doesn't make any logical sense. How can you take away context from a situation? Context always matters from every situation. I hate modern society for the purpose of taking away context from these situations. Like, context is very, very important. You can't just take context away. And I hate to bring this up, but I went to a football game once with the chief rabbi back in 2005. We went to a football game.
Who was the chief rabbi? Yeah,
he was a chief. It wasn't chief rabbi at the time, but he's chief rabbi now. And we took a banner to the game. Yeah, which it was a big banner because it was a trip with our local synagogue, and we went to a Spurs game, and we held a banner saying, "We've got the biggest yid in the ground," and it was a big deal. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was jokes. The rabbi, the rabbi at the time didn't take any offense to it. It was a big laugh. We had this banner in the ground, and if the chief rabbi can see the funny side of that, and can see how in that context it's not offensive, then why all of a sudden are we trying to take offense to this and trying to ban it and trying to say, even though you used it in solidarity, we're now gonna say you're causing offense? That doesn't make sense to me. The problem is you have, look, we're both Jewish. There's no secret to that. We're obviously grew up in a Jewish household. We know the historical context of the word. I mean, I personally have never been called that in a racist term. I don't know if you have.
The only time I've been called it is at some of these grounds. That's it.
Right, from opposition fans.
Most notably Arsenal and Chelsea.
Yeah. Okay. So fair enough. I think I've probably heard it maybe a few times from that point of view, but that's why it's been used in response to that. And as Tottenham rightly say in their statement, it was used because there was no one else doing anything about it. Tottenham were going away all down to all these grounds and getting all these anti-Semitic abuse thrown at them, and there was nothing being done about it by any authorities or anything. So Tottenham fans took it amongst themselves to do something about it, and now, I mean, I can't speak for all Jews, but I've got a lot of Jewish supporting Tottenham friends, and I know they very much like the use of it.
I've got so many Jewish supporting Tottenham friends, right, that we go week in, week out with all around the years. I mean, I've been, my first Spurs game I went to, I was 7 years old, right? So I've got a lot of friends from school, from everywhere, a lot of Jewish Spurs fans that go week in, week out. I have never heard of one of them ever saying they feel uncomfortable, they don't like the term. Every single one, barring none, have all said they use it as a badge of honor. They love the term. It makes them feel more at home.
Makes them feel included more.
It makes them feel included, and it's literally, they use it as a complete badge of honor. And they're proud because of how the word got brought up. They're proud of how the rest of the Spurs fans stood in solidarity with them at that moment.
It is when you think about how it all started, it is something to be proud of, and it's something to think when you read about that. That's not a bad. That's a very good story. That should be celebrated. celebrated about how fan bases can rally around people who are being abused by opposition fans and stand in solidarity with them and make them feel part of that fan base and not cast them aside.
It just feels like they're focusing on us who use the term in a positive way and not focusing on the real problem here. Not focusing
Which
on
is
the
the opposite-
real
what opposite?
racism, on the real racism, on the real anti-Semitism that comes from the opposition fans. If anyone needs to create a hub to learn about anti-Semitism and stuff like that, it's the fans that brought up this chant originally.
Yeah, and that's what Chelsea are doing, to be fair. Apparently, they've done a lot of work.
Well, yeah.
But the problem is, I mean, it's they're under pressure. They're not under pressure. They're probably under pressure from Premier League and sponsors and whatever. They're more under pressure from Jews themselves, from outside of the context of football. So CST made a statement saying it is so incongruous to see Spurs players taking a knee before the match in opposition to racism, and then when the match starts you have the Y word, which is in any other context anti-Semitic abuse ringing around the stadium. So they obviously support the banning of the word. But they're obviously they're an anti-Semitism charity, but they don't represent me as a Jew. So, but what do we say in response to that? Are they right? Like, if other Jews do find it offensive, what can you say to them to say that why the word should be allowed?
I think the people that do find offence to it, you have to teach them the history of why it's being sung. You have to teach them the history. I remember, probably, I don't know if I should bring this up, but I remember speaking to my grandma at the time. She was always against that word being sung at the stadium. We did that video with the Ajax channel, right? And we delved deep into it and why it's being sung and why we think it's a great thing. She saw that video and she was like, "Oh, now I understand it, and it's actually quite a good thing that the Spurs fans stood in solidarity." So I think these people need to be educated on why the word is brought up. It's not just because Spurs have, a lot of Jewish fans and these Jewish fans sing it and the ones that aren't Jewish don't sing it. You know what I mean? It's not like that. It's not a division. It's literally to keep everyone together. And so it's a very positive thing why Spurs sing that word, why Spurs sing Yid Army. And people don't actually realise that. People don't realise the whole meaning of the word and why Spurs do sing it.
Yeah, and I think maybe they just, I think a lot of the Jews feel like we just sing it, maybe not understanding the full context behind why Spurs fans sing it, and they just think, well, maybe it's because Tottenham fans are a Jewish club, so they think they can just adopt this word from Jews, and that's why they sing it in that way. And from that context, maybe I can understand why they're more offended. But if they really understood the context of why Spurs fans sing, I don't understand how they can find it why they would find that offensive.
And I hate this narrative being like, oh, if Spurs didn't sing it, then you wouldn't get any anti-Semitic abuse.
It's rubbish.
Biggest load of rubbish I've ever heard. Like, we started singing it because of the anti-Semitic abuse. We don't get anti-Semitic abuse because we're singing it.
It's the other way around.
It's completely ridiculous.
But here's an interesting take from I'm not calling him out, but it's an interesting take from Matt Hayes on Twitter. Look, and if you do want the word banned, I understand your point of view. But he says it's okay to understand Tottenham fans' use of the Y word proudly and as a celebration of the club's roots, while also acknowledging how it is offensive. If a fraction of our fan base, or indeed the Jewish community, are offended, then we need to stop. I guess it depends. Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard. I mean, and from that point of view, I understand that, because if you talk about other forms, if I can only talk for myself and as a Jew, and I'm not offended by it, and I'm happy and I'm proud of that kind of identity and how it was used and the history behind it. But if someone is offended by it, then do we have a duty to stop? I don't know. That is a difficult question. It's a difficult question to answer.
Look, I think it is a difficult question to answer, but ultimately, me and you, we're both, since a young age, very much ingrained within the Jewish society and Jewish way of life. We've pretty much predominantly only mixed with Jewish people our whole lives, going to Jewish schools and stuff like that. We know a lot of Jewish Spurs fans, a lot. And I've never I'm not saying there isn't one, and I'm not saying there isn't quite a few, but I've literally never come across a Jewish Spurs fan that's taken offence to that word inside the stadium, ever.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are.
I'm not saying they're not, but we've come across in our lifetime.
Yeah, I haven't met one. I haven't met
Jewish
one.
Spurs fans, a lot, right, throughout our whole life. I've never come across one that have taken offence to it. And
also, what I would say is, look, I understand, and it's difficult. It's difficult for me to tell you not to be offended. I can't do that. I can't. If you're offended, that's just your reaction to it, and that's fair enough. You have a right for that reaction, but just because you are offended, maybe you have to think about why you're offended about the use of that term in this context. I think you have to think about, if you take the history of why they use that term into account, why does that offend you? Why is that something you would want banned from the stadium just because those words are uttered? Surely context does matter in these situations.
Context always matters.
And I think that if you take context out of it, that can be very damaging for a lot of things. And I would say that of course you have people, all Jews have the right to be offended by that, but I would rather try and live in a society where, or for me anyway, this is just speaking for myself, I would rather try and readopt the word in a positive way than try and give that word power to continue to be offended by it.
Absolutely.
Why would I want to do that? Why would I
Absolutely.
want to give that word power by saying this should be banned, that when anyone who utters it should be banned? Like, you're giving that word power, then you're giving it more oxygen for it to be used in a negative way. Whereas when Tottenham readopt it, why is it in a positive way to unify the Tottenham fan base and stand up for the Jewish fans who are being abused? Why would you not want to reappropriate it in a positive context? Why would you rather keep the negative context? Exactly. That's what I don't understand. And I understand that word was used in a horrible racist way for years, like many years ago. But let's be honest, like, is it? Oh, look, I don't know. I haven't been. That's not been used against me that many times. I haven't heard of that many people. It's been used against them, like in the street or anything, like as an anti-Semitic. Well, maybe it has, but I don't know too many instances of it personally. But why would you not rather want to reappropriate the positive context rather than keep the negative context? That's what I don't understand.
In my opinion, that word in a negative light, I mean, that word is right now in this day and age is associated with Spurs, right?
More often than anti-Semitic abuse.
More than anti-Semitic abuse. I mean, it's a very
so much of the dictionary said, didn't it? The dictionary said, when was it? A couple of years ago.
Years back, yeah.
They added it to their definition of. They said Latin for Jew and also means a Tottenham fan.
Isn't that such a beautiful thing, though, that we've actually stood, the Spurs fans actually stood so much in solidarity with the Jews that the actual meaning of this word in the dictionary had changed to a positive what?
Not changed, it added to it.
Added to it.
Yeah, they added to the definition.
Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Yeah, and I think that instead of Tottenham fan, look, it's hard because I don't represent all Jews, so I can't say all you Jews shouldn't be offended. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying if a Jew can tell me why this is something negative, and why if you include the history of everything, if you include why the word is used, why this definitely should be stopped, and why they are offended by the use of that word in that context, and why it's better to keep the negative context of the word rather than try and reappropriate it in a positive way moving forward, which I think is better for the future. Why would you? And that's why I don't understand. If that can be convinced of that, then I am willing to say we should start that word. But for me, how I see it, if we can reappropriate that way in a positive way and keep and
which we have done, and we can keep the positive context of it rather than giving it more power negative way for us to be offended by it and us to people like allow. It's basically giving power to anti-Semites in a way by allowing that word to be used, by allowing us to be offended by that word, and undoing all the hard work that Spurs fans have done since the 70s of standing by the Jews and bringing that word into a positive light.
So that's what I would say to CST in response to that. Like when they come up with all these things, I understand people are offended by it, and you're completely, that's within your right. But for me, as a Jew living in the UK, grown up in Jewish circles, this is how I feel about it. And CST don't represent my views, and just because they claim to represent all Jews, they don't represent me as a Jew.
And they don't represent literally 100% of Spurs Jewish fans that I've met throughout the entire
that you've
life.
met, fair enough. Yeah, I wouldn't say all 100% of Jewish
No,
Spurs
that
fans.
I've met.
Yeah, that you've met. Yeah, for me as well. I've yet to meet a Jewish Spurs fan who is really offended by that term. I've yet to meet one. And fair, look, I've not met every Jewish Spurs fan there is, so I'm open to it.
Of course.
But any Jewish person I met hasn't been offended by it. So
Yeah, look, you got to be open to all different opinions and stuff like that, and people are offended by different things, of course. But as two Jewish Spurs fans who have grown up in heavily Jewish circles, this is the way we feel about it.
this is it. And I've some super chats here from George, who is I don't know, is George Jewish?
No, I don't think so.
But he's a super chat. Said, felt very emotional watching Ben speak just now. I would always stand by my fellow Jewish Spurs fans and have always used the term of solidarity with them against racism against them. Big up to you, George.
Big up, George.
So it says, as a Jewish person with Mitzrayim heritage, I have no issue with the Y word, but the likes of David Bazil, CST, and border deputies have been against Spurs for letting this word be used. They have, and I also think it's difficult because there's always different, how do you say, not narratives, but different agendas at play with all these things.
And David Baddiel, who's a big Chelsea fan, I mean, I would love to know what David Baddiel's views would be if he was a Spurs fan.
Yeah, I think they always co-counsel. I don't think David Baddiel is like trying to get at Spurs because by doing this, but it never looks right that he is a big Chelsea fan and he's saying all this stuff, like trying to get Tottenham fans to get rid of their identity. Coming from a Chelsea fan, it's never going to be.
And let's be honest,
right,
like, even if they do try and crack down on this word, and you've got like, let's say on what, like 40,000 people in a stadium screaming it out, what are they going to do? How are they supposed to stop
And
that?
also, like, as a Jew, they can't charge us for saying it.
You know what I mean?
We can say it. What are they going to do? Charge me for anti-Semitism for saying the word?
Exactly.
As a Jew, they can't.
Exactly.
They can't. I'm going to say it. So whatever. Then another from
Rajesh Sharma.
Rajesh Sharma says, mate, I'm far away from Tottenham but I think we have changed the meaning of the word in a way. Proud to be a Yid. Love from
Qatar, I think that is.
Qatar. COYS.
I think it's Qatar, I'm not sure.
Don't know. Is that Qatar? I can't see. And another one from Kilo Tango says, sat behind Chelsea away end in December 2019. They were hissing all game. No one cared. Rudiger falsely accuses us of racism, pandemonium.
That's a Nepal flag. That flag
Oh, Nepal. No, well, look, when it goes to Rudiger, a lot of people say he falsely. Look, I don't know. Like, I know whatever happened.
Look,
I think I think he
wasn't-
was genuine when he accused him. I just don't think.
Yeah, but I think that, you know, some of the chants can be kind of maybe misheard in the heat of a moment as kind of.
Because I think when you haven't heard all the Tottenham chants and you hear someone go, who are the Leeds at, you can probably especially if you're foreign, you might be able to misinterpret that as something else.
I think exactly what it was.
Yeah, and I understand that. The Americanka says that my fellow Jewish would make George Jewish. So maybe George is Jewish. Wouldn't surprise me. Okay, so yeah, that's it for now, I think.
All right. Well, that's our take on the Y word, obviously. So let's move on and let's start bringing on the rest of our guests. And let's start with Colin from Talk and Ball. Colin, how are we doing, buddy? You're on mute, I think. There we go. Yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you now. How are you?
Oh man, I'd be doing a lot better had we not given up that lead yesterday.
Tell me about it. But
how come we can't play against teams that press? We just literally have no answer to a press right now, and I guess it's our midfield. But I mean, have you noticed any team that just comes up and presses us at all? We really just can't cope. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like that, to be fair. But what is that? solely what it's down to yesterday? I mean, what do you put it down to? Because a lot of people are complaining about Conte's tactics yesterday. A lot of people saying the player's just not good enough. I mean, what do you really put it down to yesterday?
I still think, and a lot of managers have alluded to it, but that there's a weird a fear kind of at Spurs. Like it looked like we were playing with a bit of fear. They were playing with a bit of anger and intensity that we couldn't match. They were up for it. They were ready. They knew. It was almost like they knew which of our players they could target. They were talking together. They were saying, hey, we can get under his skin. Let's work with him. It just doesn't seem like we were ruthless enough, and it doesn't seem like we wanted it enough.
Yeah, I mean, I get your point. I mean, in terms of a few individual performances yesterday, I mean, the players I want to talk about, Sanchez, Emerson, Winks, and Højbjerg. I mean, especially Højbjerg, because I thought his performance was absolutely shocking. Because when you're looking at the other players in Sanchez, Emerson, and Winks, they're all kind of like what you expect to be fringe players and not to be our starting players. But Højbjerg is a player which Conte very much relies on, very much trusts. And to put in a performance like that yesterday was just not good enough, was it?
No. He looked really bad, and once Bentancur was put in, as you guys have talked about a lot, I mean, the game completely changed, and I think, once he is more, I don't know, what do you guys think that the midfield pairing, or even trio, I guess, will be when everybody's fit and incorporated? Do you see Højbjerg retaining his starting spot? That's something I'm not sure about now. It depends on how good defensively Bentancur is.
Well, it's funny because up until yesterday, I don't think Conte's ever taken Højbjerg off, has he? He's always been a player that he trusts a lot more than the other.
Kept him on for them.
Yeah, he always, even when I personally feel like Højbjerg's not having the best game, he always keeps him on anyway. But yesterday was the first time where he was like, "You're playing so bad, I have to take you off," and so maybe that could be the start of like. Whether he thinks, you know what, he's out for next game after that performance, or whether he still sees Højbjerg as a guy who's needed in this team. I think you could argue, despite the fact that Bentancur played well, when Højbjerg did go off, we might have needed him for those last 15 minutes, because I felt like in those last 15 minutes we couldn't get near their centre mids, and Winks couldn't get near them. Bentancur wasn't able as well to be as aggressive as maybe Højbjerg can be. And as much as Højbjerg was really sloppy in possession, which he was, and he was panicking and he was imprecise with his passing, can you take away what he offers off the ball into our team? I don't know.
It's very true. I mean, the leadership qualities, the marshalling of other players, he also just has a bit of fight and fire to him. And like I said, that's something the Spurs lack. I think he suffers from being like pretty good at a lot of things and not great at any one thing. He's not like a destroyer. He's not Wanyama. He's not, an incredible passer. He's just pretty good at all of those things, and it's important. And his leadership qualities, I'm sure, are important. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Conte does the rest of the season, especially with Skip coming back from injury. It'll definitely be interesting. And I know that it's really down on the priority list, but I think as a purely defensive midfielder, like if we were going that route, that Højbjerg could be upgraded on. Just from a defensive midfield standpoint. But then again, I don't know really if that's the role Conte has envisioned for him. It's a tough one. It really is.
It is a tough one, and I would really like to see a middle two pairing of Bentancur and Skip. I mean, I think Skip's been probably our best player, if not one of the best players this season. I think he's rarely let us down, if ever, this season. But when you look at Højbjerg, he has put in a bit of, time and time again, he does come out with these performances that do let us down.
Is it fear? That. And also he seems like one of those players that can't handle the press. Like I mentioned earlier, once a team starts to press him, that's when you mentioned his decision making wasn't great. He was getting hounded a lot. He was making some loose passes, and I think that all comes down to the press. And it's been a known thing for years that if you just come out pressing hard against us, that we struggle.
We don't have an answer.
Yeah, and that's we kind of counter press and then try to play on the break, but I mean that just doesn't always, as we saw yesterday, that doesn't always work.
Yeah, in terms of, go on, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say it did remind me of Mourinho ball. Whenever you guys said that, I was like, oh God, like It really did. We looked to play on those counters, and then after that we were content to sit back, and that's just not good enough at this stage.
Yeah, completely agree. And when you're looking at the top four race, I mean, a lot of people were putting Spurs in pole position for the top four before this game. But now we have lost to a Southampton team at home, with Wolves coming up next and Man City away coming up after that. What is your opinion on the top four race now?
I still think it's wide open.
Yeah.
We dropped points last night. Other teams around us are going to drop points to teams that you wouldn't, expect them to. Whenever you look at the schedule on paper, it's easy to look at matches, and for other teams especially, and be like, oh, win, 3 points there, 3 points there, 3 points there. We're not catching them. But this just shows, in the Premier League, teams drop points all the time. That's one of the beauties of the Premier League, is that any team can beat any other team on their day, and so we're definitely not out of it. It's wide open, and I still think we've got better than 50-50 chance to get top four.
50-50.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll take 50-50 to be honest. I really would. But when you're looking at Emerson Royale, I mean, he's come out with a lot of flack over the last couple of weeks. All season.
Is it too hard?
See, that's what I was about to ask you. I was about to ask you, do you think the criticism of Emerson is a bit too harsh, seeing as he's brand new to this league, he's very young, and he's never played this position? And actually, the position we bought him for in the summer is completely different to the role he's playing in now. So are we being a bit too harsh on him as a fan base?
Absolutely. But that's the way of being a fan, a Spurs fan especially, but just a fan of any sports team. You get a signing, they cost us significant chunk of change. I mean, what was he, 25, something like that? Yeah. And he comes from Barcelona, and you hear the word Barcelona and you think, oh, amazing player, probably technically wonderful. He's not exactly what we expected, but he's incredibly raw. I personally think that given some time, he could live up to our expectations. But like you all say, and like everybody says, and like I say, he's a young man. He's just moved to a place, new culture. I know that COVID's been going on for a long time, but that's made the whole world a colder place. It's harder to navigate, harder to figure things out. I just think that he deserves at least a season. And he came in under Nuno, and now he's right. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
Am I right? Okay. And now this, I mean, like, what a change. What a change in playing styles. What a change in what you're asked to do. And so, yeah, I think it's really not doing him any favors by getting on him like this. And he deserves at least a season. I mean, how can you not give a player at least one season?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that he is being given. Look, there's no two ways about it. He's not playing well enough at the moment. That you can't argue against that. But to completely disregard him, say he's completely not good enough. I mean, the guy needs patience. The guy needs time. At the end of the day, he's a young, like for all the reasons I just said. But Colin, thank you very much for coming on today. We've got a lot of guests to get through, so thanks for coming on, and we'll speak to you soon.
Hey, you guys have a good one. Thanks for having me.
Cheers,
nice one, mate.
Bye, mate. Let's keep going, and let's go to the Jorical. Jory, nice view you got there.
Nice. Oh, he's on mute. Oh.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Jory.
Hey. There's a lot of stuff been going on with your chat background. It froze on the computer and so on. So I'm on the phone now. So, yeah, it could go better.
Did play a game last night. Obviously, we lost 3-2 to Southampton. I mean, what were your takeaways from the game last night?
Yeah, it was a shocking game, really, especially after Brighton. I remember I called in and talked to you guys, and I was talking about, how the league should be scared of us and stuff like that. And I meant that exactly in the sense that that we, despite the quality of our individuals, Conte is managing to make structure and discipline on the field that kind of overcomes these individual lacks, or problems that we've seen so many times. But yesterday, that whole structure completely collapsed, and I would definitely say it started with a an imploding midfield for us, and for me it was kind of weird, I don't know if it's Conte kind of doing it almost on purpose or knowing what's kind of likely to happen, simply to make a point once again, towards player recruitment, and also maybe to make a point towards the club that is like, this is how it's gonna be, guys. This is what you need. You need to, step up to these roles if you wanna be a grown boy with me, because like tactically it was all wrong, and like I kind of, before the game, I knew that. I thought actually tactically it shouldn't have been really that difficult as I saw it. I thought like all we need to do is just make sure that we dominate the midfield, then the rest will be fine, So I was always thinking it had to be like a 3-5-2. And when it then turned out to be a 3-4-3 instead, and like with the double pivot, I was kind of surprised, but I thought, all right, I guess they're up to it or whatever. But it quickly turned out that neither Højbjerg or Winks were up to it. And like I was also surprised that he didn't, like I was very surprised he didn't change it in the halftime. When the whistle blowed for the halftime, I was like, phew, we got away with it. He's gonna change it now.
Yeah.
We're gonna be fine in the second half, But no, he didn't. So I don't know why that is, other than maybe to do make a statement or something, For me, it was kind of clear. It was like, also beyond dominating, like I had like two things I thought was important for this game. It was like dominating the midfield, and then making sure that Brosia and Ward-Prowse didn't get any time on the ball, pressing them constantly, as soon as they were near the ball. And what did we see? We saw the opposite almost. I mean, yes, sure, okay, Brosia got a little bit of defensive pushback, but it was not good either. He was too much to handle for them. So I was very surprised by that development. But that being said, actually, I turned into the pre-match pump up, which I never do, because I think it's kind of like a jinx machine, guys. For me, like, you should never be optimistic before a game. You should go in worrying about everything and all of that. And I did, and I kind of big up David. He was doing a great job. I enjoy it the few times I've dared to watch it. But I don't watch it for that reason, because I don't want to jinx it, so
giving
kind of
everyone false hope, David Harris.
Yeah, I felt like I jinxed it because I watched it yesterday, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also, I don't know why Conte is insisting on a 3-4-3 instead of a 3-5-2. I think like when we've seen the 3-5-2, it's been much better. I also feel like it was weird to me that like when we sat back, like the first line of defense, which was Lucas, Winks, and Højbjerg, they left. They didn't close the ball down at all. So like for me, that was like the most dangerous thing was the crosses in. For me, and the set pieces, and what did we do? We left plenty of space for Prowse to cross the ball, and we gave them 7 corners or something, so it was really weird, I feel. I think like if also with this wing back situation, I think it's gonna be difficult. Like I was actually thinking like, I would actually, if you want to insist on playing such a strong wing back dominant, or like So it's a wing back dependent strategy. I almost would be looking at now using Sanchez as a wing back rather,
Wow,
because
really?
because we cannot have this defensive hole. We have a huge hole as it's set up now. Maybe when Dyer gets back and you have Romero there to help out with Emerson, then maybe it will shore up a little bit. But for me, I would rather sacrifice whatever going forward by using a Sanchez as a wing back and get the defense at least, like closing that hole a little bit better. But also I think, like, by the way, I think like Sanchez actually cost Emerson a lot of, like, it wasn't just Emerson yesterday. It was the play between those two guys, and a lot of it was actually started with Sanchez, or even like you pointed out there, where Romero had a bad game yesterday. He was kind of not finding his place in space a lot of the time, you know. So and it then, you know, more times than not, Emerson was left with too much to do. And of course, we shouldn't leave our youngest and most inexperienced defender to have the most to do, you know. So and I like also with Lucas going forward. Lucas is he's kind of a little bit lost now offensively. I think he's not finding his place in that way he ends up on the pitch and how to play and so on. You know, he's a little bit. We're getting too little out of Lucas right now. I feel like.
Fair though, he was the ones that showed the real bits of quality for both our goals.
Yeah, and you talked about that before, and I think, like, I would say it like this: like, Lucas is not, like, Lucas will always have quality, when technical quality, on the ball quality, but he is not he is not quality, or he's being wasted tactically. Like his the way he's fitting now tactically is not working. But if you give him the ball and he has to do something with it, more often than not, he'll do a pretty good job. Sometimes he'll do an amazing job, you know. So that's just him technically, as we know him. But I think I just think also when then tactically, I think maybe what we see is like Conte sets up with something that's tactically not working at all, and full credit to Southampton. They're not only us, but in general, clearly have a tactical approach that's amazing, really, for them, and have been causing trouble for a lot of teams lately. So you know, hats off to them. But when we set up, when we don't have the structure and the tactics working with this weak squad, the squad falls apart completely. That's simply, the mentality is too weak. The football intelligence is too low, and so on. And too many players, you know. It's very like what Conte needs is, he needs like a solid man that has all the faculty at a certain level, you know. And this is exactly what Spurs is not. Spurs have guys that excel at one thing or two things, and then are completely weak-minded or have no tactical insight, do not read the game well, and so on, you know. So you don't have these well-rounded players, really, apart from maybe Skip, and I would say Højbjerg is definitely that, but I'll get to Højbjerg in a bit. His problem is different. But yeah, I mean, we have a little bit too dim-witted players. We have a lot of weak-spirited players. We have lazy, or we had lazy players at least. And maybe in some ways we still have a little bit of a lazy player. When they get insecure, you know, like they will then, you know, especially like a Winks or whatever, they will kind of get timid and pull back, you know, instead of running into it, you know. Conte needs a personality that if he doesn't know what to do, he will go more aggressive, not less aggressive. He will attack the more, maybe become rash, maybe over commit and stuff like that. But he will not become timid and insecure like we saw a lot of players yesterday become. And Conte actually talked about it and said, like, this emotional stuff that's gotta go. Like we have a lot of emotional players, unfortunately. So.
And a highly emotional manager as well.
Yeah, but I mean, we want that kind of, we want that emotion is good, but like the emotional, like doubting yourself and stuff like that is not very good. Sometimes even if you're wrong, it's more important to be committed and have confidence. And I think Conte understands that's the most important for these players to try and keep that. But yeah, I like, and this comes down to the squad as well. And I would actually like, I mean, I thought I watched your call in yesterday, and I thought Stell actually had a pretty good call, because I think like this whole debate about positive and negative, I don't think it's really not. I mean, you can always it depends from what angle you're viewing things and what you're trying to do. Like if you keep pouring beer in your alcoholic uncle's glass at the Christmas party, and he then gets too drunk and yet again ruins a Christmas party for the whole family, then yeah, you're positive. You're in the term that you gave him the beer when he asked it and was nice about it, But what you're doing is actually destructive for the greater good, and maybe your sister that confronted your uncle and said that he should stop drinking when he comes to these parties, maybe she was actually doing the positive work, by confronting something that's unavoidable, And that's how I feel like we have, like, our most pressing need in this club is to get Levy and the board out of our recruitment matters, And we might not have another chance. I think we have one more chance. I think I still believe my own story about this window where Levy fucked up the Adama move, and after that Levy got out of the way, and Paratici was able to scramble and get the two players from Juve, and that kind of maybe settled Conte a little bit for now. But I think, I mean, we like, if it even starts in the summer with Levy, we're losing Conte. Like, I'm convinced of that. So so if you're a Tottenham fan and you think that this club has anything but a horrible future if we lose Conte, you're completely delusional. And I'm glad that you can find happiness where there shouldn't be any, but it's not going to help the reality of the situation, So I would definitely, because I feel like a lot of the, I mean, like, and to be honest, like, I'm not trying to now to be dismissive of the positive fans. I can come. I feel like, Ben, you especially have very, very good. I completely buy all of your arguments, for example, and I'm
Would you classify me as a positive fan, Jory?
In general, yeah, because I mean, I don't know anybody that I've listened to that could talk for any length of time with intelligence about the club and not have the reservations that you have. Like, if you don't have that, then you're not paying attention at all. I think you try not to let it weigh you down, and try and see angles and how it possibly can develop into positive situations. And I actually try myself. I think I try to do that myself. But I think maybe, you know, a difference between me and you, maybe Ben, is like I really consider it like our most pressing on the field issue is Levy. You know, believe it or not. Like I really feel that we're down to that, because
I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, okay. But then you see, like, then I guess we're level in that way, you know, because I really hate seeing, and I think Stel mentioned it, and I think a lot of your regulars talk about it. We like, this is yet another way that the fan base becomes divisive and stuff like that. And I really think we should first of all really try to understand who are completely casual trolls, and really we shouldn't pay any time to. They can have their uninformed opinions if they want, but for the real discussion, I really think that the idea that our attitudes is a key factor in this is not true. You know, that's an illusion. You know, of course, I do also agree with, like, when we're completely throwing Amazon under the bus and stuff like that on social media, yeah, that does have an effect. I agree. But if we're in general talking badly about Ening and stuff like that, I do not believe that impacts the performance on the field. What I do believe is that, I do believe it can impact in the terms that if we can create enough pressure on the board, then we actually get them to loosen the person, and we get some positive out of it. As I think I think the Conte appointment is all about that. So like, for me, I'm still a little bit furious, as you can hear, guys. I really feel like this board is really doing its best to split the culture, you know, to actually, you know, create our own little culture war. And I also feel like in the Premier League and stuff like that, you know, I'm sorry, guys, I'm completely as anti-racist and as anti-bigoted and so on as you can be. I grew up in a working class neighborhood in Copenhagen. All my friends were from all over Yugoslavian, Arabian, Turkish, whatever, you know. And we actually used to get into quite some serious fights with a racist gang that was in the neighborhood, you know. So I don't mind putting my body behind my works in that sense, you know. But like, running around town pretending that your opinion is something that should be really important for the rest of the world is completely delusional. But unfortunately, something that corporations and governments are using left, right, and center to create division in communities, and that's what this is about for me, you know. So
fair enough. No,
yeah, sorry,
point
guys.
of view. No, it's
Yeah,
good to talk to you,
too much
Jory.
of a rant. I'm sorry, guys, but
We love hearing your views, Jory. Don't be sorry. It's great to have you on.
And looking forward to maybe seeing you tomorrow, right? No,
yes,
maybe?
I'm coming, guys.
We're allowed to say it? Okay.
Yeah. It's official.
Okay,
it's
the
official.
Kids know it as well. So.
Okay.
Looking forward, Jory. Can't wait.
Yeah, me too, man. Can't wait.
Awesome.
Love it.
We'll see you tomorrow, Jory. Big up.
Nice one.
Big up.
See you, mate. So I believe that brings an end to Good Morning Tottenham. We'll be back with the 5 takeaways and player ratings as well. So look out for that. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.